Well. Welcome in to Sportstime with Wolo and Stats. Wolo and Stats are out today, so it will be me, Gabe Kuhn. I produce Johnny Radio's Happy Hour and Sports 56 Middays, along with Drew Barrett, which usually is the producer of the show.
Normally,
man. We have a loaded show. We're not going to stray off.
I mean, are you going to give the rest of your resume out there like the people don't
Hey,
know
can I
who you
ask
are?
you a question?
They
Is
just
this
listened
really
to you 10
their
minutes
normal
ago.
intro?
Yeah.
This is pretty dope for Brett
That's
Wolo, you know what I'm
first
saying?
time I heard it surprised me, but I'm sort of used to it at this point. But we are not going to stray off the beaten path. We have the top, not top, here at 3:20, 3:30. We're going to bring on Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet to talk a little bit of some of the college football, some of the NFL football from the weekend. He's going to handicap for us. At 4 o'clock, we'll have Peter Edmiston. He is part of the Peter Edmiston Experience with CJ Hurt from 7 to 10 on these airwaves. He writes for The Athletic, for the Grizzlies. You know him. And then 4:30, Glenn Rogers will join us to talk some high school football. He will be in studio with us. At 5 o'clock, Andy Schiffman will be in to talk some of the headlines of the NBA today, more of the business side, as he actually is an agent, certified agent, and he represents Brandon Clark, of all people, and we know how he's been. At 5:30, we're going to have our picks and do the First National Bank and Trust Friday football forecast. What's happening, Drew?
Man, I'm just excited to be on this side of the glass today, especially with all the news going on. I mean, this is definitely, as Brett would like to say, it's not a July show. We're not going to have to reach to really find stuff to talk about. It's pretty much everything in the world of sports is going on around right now, including college basketball, college football, NBA,
Full
NFL.
swing of everything,
I mean, just full
basically.
swing. We got action on the ice.
On the ice?
Yeah.
The ice, man.
I mean, you got to know.
Hockey.
I'm going to talk hockey.
You're a Preds guy, right?
I am a Preds guy.
See,
Brett likes to call me the
let's go
foremost
Blues,
hockey
man.
expert
Let's go
in the
Blues.
South. So
Foremost hockey.
foremost hockey expert in the South.
Okay.
So that's me.
So you
if
know all
ever-
about the forecheck and the back check and
all of it.
getting the angles,
Dude,
you know?
know it all. Go up top where grandma keeps the cookie jar, man.
Well,
Put the biscuit in the basket.
we're not going to talk hockey. I can't imagine. Well, we might. I don't know. At some point. But we know what happened last night, man. It was an absolute debacle for Thursday Night Football. Myles Garrett decided that he was going to use the thing on his head that he usually uses to protect his brain as a weapon last night. So what happened? Freddie Kitchens, the head coach for the Cleveland Browns, decided to dial up a bunch of blitzes and bring a lot at Mason Rudolph, the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, at the very end of the game. It was 21-7. It was to the point where they weren't going to come back. There was no real chance. They're in there toward their own end zone. And Myles Garrett gets to Mason Rudolph for about the second or third straight play. Mason Rudolph didn't like that. Mason Rudolph on the ground was tussling with him.
Mason also didn't like it that, it would have been considered a late hit on the quarterback, which
but
Myles Garrett has done all season long. I don't think he's gone one game without getting a penalty on something like that. I remember watching him on, I think it was Monday Night Football against the Jets, and it seemed like at least once a defensive series, he was getting called for late hits on quarterbacks. I mean, that's the way the league is nowadays. You can't take them to the ground. And even on the play that it started the brawl against the Steelers and the Browns last night, I mean, Mason Rudolph let go of the ball, then was hit by Myles Garrett, didn't want to go down, and Myles just kept on going, knowing full fact that he had already gotten rid of the ball. He was just trying to tackle him to tackle him. He was trying to instigate something, and Mason kind of just had enough of it. And I'm not saying Mason should have done what he did. You definitely shouldn't try to take off a 275-pound defensive end helmet and try to do something that way. I mean, Mason Rudolph, while he's no small guy of his own, is nowhere near as big as Myles Garrett and has no shot.
And the physicality.
I mean that's like me trying to take your helmet off.
Yeah,
I'm not a small guy, but you're definitely bigger than me.
That's the physicality difference. And as Drew just alluded to, Mason Rudolph has his part in this whole thing. Like he did get taken down. I know that Myles Garrett probably should have just let off the gas at the end there, but he tried to take his helmet off, and I could see why Myles got mad. But as it started to instigate, we had David DeCastro, one of the Steelers' old linemen, getting in the way, trying to take Myles Garrett out of the situation. But more than anything, man, Myles Garrett showed a side of him that I have never seen. I mean,
crazy.
Usually a mild-mannered guy, especially off the field, but we know how when you get in between those lines, you know, the emotions run high. And what he did, and not just the swinging of the helmet. I don't want to start there. I want to start with him taking his helmet off, because he was laying, I'm referring to Mason Rudolph, was laying flat on the ground. Myles Garrett ripped him up by his face mask to his feet. Do you know how strong and how much force that could do? That could have broken his neck.
Exactly. I mean, it's ultimately shocking that we're sitting here today not talking about
the game.
No, not even just that. Not talking about Mason Rudolph, one, having a broke or fractured neck from that, and then on top of that, you know, some type of brain concussions stuff from the helmet itself. I mean, it's a fact that this guy basically came out of this without a scratch.
Absolutely. And he's lucky, because as it kept instigating, the helmet came off. Mason Rudolph's helmet came off. Myles Garrett was getting held back, like I said, by David DeCastro. And then, in the worst swing of events, Myles Garrett, while being restrained, decided it was a good idea to swing his helmet at Mason Rudolph's head. And he hit it, and he made contact. I have seen in practices. I am a longtime football player. I've been on the field for many of practices, spectating, playing. I've seen brawls on a field.
Yeah.
I'm not going to act like that's new. But I have never in my life seen someone make contact with their helmet against somebody else. Because if he would have hit Mason Rudolph square with the crown of that helmet and the top of the head, you're talking about a fractured skull. You're talking about brain bleeding.
He goes down right then and there. I mean, there's no him getting back up and the other Browns player coming in to push him. No, he's down and out.
It's just a scary, scary moment, and it got real there for a second for me. Obviously, I woke up this morning. I had a long day yesterday, got my little sleep, woke back up, and I had to watch it. So as soon as I got to it, everybody had been giving their takes on Twitter, assault, all that, blah, blah, blah. Assault is definitely something that I would classify this in if he wasn't in the position he was. Obviously, I think a lot of these guys, their emotions run high all the time on a football field. So to hold him accountable to that, he should be held accountable. He has the full penalties for everybody on the field. Last night, Myles Garrett was suspended indefinitely for at least the rest of the season.
So at least 6 games.
Plus a fine, and then they're going to decide next year if they want to bring him back. Marquise Pouncey, who after the fact ended up sort of punching at Myles Garrett, kicking him while he was on the ground, being restrained, got 3 games plus a fine. And Larry Ogunjobi,
that was just stupid on his part.
He was the stupidest guy, because Mason Rudolph.
What was Mason going to do at that point?
Mason Rudolph had gotten up after getting hit in the head with the helmet, and Larry Ogunjobi came by and pushed him down and sort of insinuated that he was helping Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett didn't need help. He had already done the damage. But the Browns and Steelers also have been fined $250,000 each. That, I mean, you think they can afford that?
I think the Roonies and the Haslams have enough money. I'm pretty sure.
So it won't break them.
No, it's not going to break the Haslams or the Roonies' bank accounts today. I doubt either one of them knows it left if it was a direct withdrawal.
But all the talk this morning was about should Mason Rudolph press charges, and Mason Rudolph's agent has come out and they said they're keeping everything open.
They're keeping it all on the table.
Yeah, and can I blame him? No, because a lot of the arguments for saying it's not assault are based on the fact that Mason Rudolph sort of got away unscathed. And I don't think that's good enough of an argument to argue against, because what are we talking about here? If he would have made a flush contact with the top of his head and caused his, skull to fracture, would your tune change? Because that's what he could have done. This is a blunt object.
I mean, he got lucky. Mason Rudolph is the luckiest man alive. Like we said, getting pulled up, it could have fractured his neck in the first place, and then gets so lucky that basically the only part of the helmet that will not almost kill you God,
Yeah.
it was the part of the helmet that hit him on top of the head. So right now, if I'm Mason Rudolph, I'm looking at this going, man, I'm walking away with my life right now. I mean, that could have not only ended my career, but damaged me for the rest of my life because we don't know. I mean, I don't think there have been. We've been doing CTE tests, we've been doing helmet tests, but I don't think there's really been a test of, hey, what would happen to a guy's head if another player decided to take off a helmet and swing it at him and hit the crown of the helmet on the top of his head. What's going to happen? I don't think anybody's done that type of study because there's really, until last night, no need to do a study like that and figure out what happened. So, I mean, it could have just been a mild bump on the head, or it really could have done some damage. So Mason Rudolph really just needs to look at this. I think saying let the NFL take the measures that it has. Let's see how this all plays out after Myles Garrett's suspension next year. And I'm just gonna thank my lucky stars right now. I don't think I need to drag this on. I don't think it really needs to go to courts and actually getting Myles Garrett arrested for this. But at the same time, I would be pretty upset.
I will say this, though. Do you think if he went and decided to press charges for this, that it would sort of distance himself from the rest of the guys in his locker room? Do you think that they would support that decision? Because when you look at locker rooms a lot of the time, there's high emotions. There is. And I am not of the camp that thinks that anything, any violent act on a football field is excused because of the emotion, because I think that's a ridiculous take.
Yeah.
But do you think that a lot of his teammates would sort of turn against him in a sort of certain situation if he decided to press those charges?
I don't know if they turn against him. Maybe they probably question it a little bit, but at the end of the day, they've got to know that, hey, this could have ended up a lot worse. Maybe talk to Mason, be like, dude, just need to drop it. But I think if he decided, they would ultimately support him because they saw what happened with their own eyes right in front of them. And if you're a Browns player in that locker room, I don't know how you defend Myles Garrett. I just
and none of them did. I will say that. I was very pleased with Baker Mayfield coming out. He's like, he made a fool of himself. He made a fool of his team. He should know better. Freddie Kitchens saying he's fully embarrassed. Freddie Kitchens was speaking for him. I didn't really understand that. But Freddie's like, I'm absolutely embarrassed. And I agree. Like, if you're that coach, you have to be embarrassed. You have to have control. And this is something.
And that's the thing. He hasn't had control all year. And when we talk about the Browns right now, it's not them beating Pittsburgh and Baltimore in the same season for the first time since they became a team after the real Browns left for Baltimore. That's not what we are talking about, what we should be talking about. We're talking about the culture of the Browns and how Freddie Kitchen has zero control because we've seen what goes on. The Browns are just it seemed to be a bunch of misfits and trying to do their own agenda between OBJ and Landry to Baker Mayfield going off on very respected media members for asking simple questions. I mean, it's at this point, I think this really makes you have to think about the culture of the Browns. That
Absolutely.
It's just so dysfunctional that I don't know how they get it back to not only a winning culture, but a winning the right way culture, a team culture instead of a individual type of my own agenda culture without firing Freddie Kitchens, without basically bringing in a no-nonsense type of staff that is not going to fly because we've seen the Browns not basically do what Myles Garrett did last night, but we've seen them act up every single game. And it's when you hear stories about the Browns, it's never about an actual play they did on the field. It's about OBJ not wanting to take off his watch. It's about Baker going off and sounding like a crazy person. It's about OBJ and Landry not wanting to change the shoes because it's not up to the NFL dress code. I mean, all the stories are not about actual play on the field, and that's a cultural problem.
Yeah, and you bring all this attention to yourself, and you're 4-6. This is a team that people were talking about, they're going to win the AFC North over the Steelers and the Ravens. I never bought into it. I thought it was going to be the Steelers. We see the Ravens are pretty doing their thing, man.
Kings of the North, back-to-back.
Wow, King of the North. I don't know about that. But
hold on, one thing I have to say, though, one thing y'all were saying, there have already been 2 Pittsburgh players who've said it should not ever come out of house. This should stay in the NFL. They don't want it to go into police. and that's 2 of his teammates in Mason Rudolph, one being the lineman who sat on
And
Miles
that's
Garrett
why,
last night.
And that's why I brought up the fact. Do you think he would?
I think
his teammates
they'll tell
would. He
him.
would not endear his teammates by
Well, I'm just
going
letting
and
on-
doing
yeah,
that.
I was letting him know because he was saying that his teammates would endear. No, 2 have already come out and said no, it doesn't go outside the NFL. We don't go press charges for what happens on the field.
No, I agree with that. I think his teammates will try to talk him out of it, but ultimately, if he does it, I don't see them disowning Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I don't think it would help his case. I don't think
It wouldn't.
I don't think it would be good for the NFL to have this thing sort of take a life of its own, as it already sort of has.
They don't want it to go to court because if this goes to court and Mason Rudolph wins, it opens up a whole Pandora's box of what is football and what is assault in a violent game where in recent past, emotions run high. We just classified that as football. You press charges, it opens up the Pandora's box to where a guy gets a targeting call against him, and then the next day he wakes up to a subpoena that he's got to go to court, or an officer knocking on his door and saying, "Hey, you used the crown of your helmet in a violent way. That's assault, brother." No, that's a football play that got out of hand.
And there's a lot of hits. And I will bring up Vontaze Burfict for one example. What he did to Antonio Brown, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, was absolutely heinous. Absolutely heinous, absolutely changed sort of, how we look at these targeting calls. So there have been things in the past that could, in my opinion, be classified under the same idea as this. But I do think, using a blunt object against the bare head is different than what we've seen in the past.
I mean, you look back just at staying with Mason Rudolph. I mean, who's to say that when Earl Thomas for the Ravens hit him so hard that they had to take off his face mask is an assault? Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's got to stay in-house.
And a lot of these hits we're talking about were with that same intent. You know what I mean? They weren't like accidental.
No.
A lot of these hits nowadays are accidental, but the ones I'm talking about with Vontaze Burfict were very, very serious, and he tried to do it, but lost in all this. Browns actually won the game. Browns won a game at home 21-7. Obviously, Mason Rudolph was awful last night, 23 for 44, 221, 1 TD, 4 interceptions. Baker actually improved a little bit, 17 for 32. Didn't get those yards up too much, 2 TDs, but he always seems to win when Nick Chubb does somewhat well. Nick Chubb, 27 carries, 92 yards. Not the greatest night, but as long as he has that attack, it seems to go. We good? We ready for the top, not top?
Well, real quick, I saw you tweet this out last night. Tevin Jones caught a pass yesterday.
Yeah. My God. How could I?
Who cannot?
Thank you.
We can't forget
former Tiger
Tevin Jones.
And I'll tell you
who's been on that practice squad for like 4 years.
I will tell you one thing. Tevin Jones, one of the most athletic guys I ever played with, but it was awesome to finally see him get that call up because we know the difference between money and practice squad. To actual squad. So to see him get a couple catches last night was really cool.
That game check was probably half of what he makes a year on the practice squad.
Probably a lot of what he's made in his career in the NFL to this point. But it's time for the top story.
Top story of the day.
Drew, you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. Top story's been exactly what we've been talking about throughout this whole first segment. The brawl in Cleveland last night against the Browns and Steelers has led to multiple problems for Myles Garrett. First, like we said, he's been suspended for the indefinitely or at least the rest of the season. Been fine. Mason Rudolph's agent, of course, coming out today saying that they haven't ruled out legal options against Garrett. His agent, Tim Younger, said in a text message to ESPN this morning, "We are gathering all information and will not rule out the possibility of legal actions." I think that's more of just agent talk.
That's talk.
That's just
talk. Because like we talked about, I think it'll be a very interesting thing. It'll cause a lot of sort of uproar, and then future things like this might be a problem. But my top story of the day. Melo, man. Melo is signed. After Carmelo Anthony started 2 games last season with the Rockets.
If it wasn't for the helmet, that was the craziest thing I saw last night.
That's what I was saying. He got cut after 10 games. The Trailblazers signed him just to a year contract. And the Trailblazers 4-8. It seems sort of like a last-ditch effort in the early going to try to spark this team. Carmelo has actually been out here quoted, I'm in the gym every single day. He also said, "Silence is not my surrender." He said this time has sort of helped him reevaluate himself, reevaluate his career, and reevaluate his life. But the question then becomes, where does he get his shots?
Mhm.
That is a team that's very
can he
heavy
play?
on ISO. That's a team that's very heavy on ISO. You have C.J. McCollum. You have Damian Lillard, who like to put up some shots. Obviously, I think he'll be running with the second line, but that'll be an interesting development as we go. Let's get to the not top story.
Not top story of the day.
My not top story is probably the local top story of the day. The return of Mike Conley to FedEx Forum tonight as the Grizzlies host the Utah Jazz. Mike was, is, and always will be a staple in this community, and I won't be surprised if the Grindhouse is sold out tonight. Tonight we'll get to see the past meeting the future as Mike Conley and Ja Morant go head-to-head today. In Mike Conley's press conference earlier today down at FedEx Forum about his video tribute, he says he hopes that it has a lot to do with the teams he played with and solely not about himself. And that's what makes Mike Mike. I mean, he's the most humble, nicest dude in the NBA. I mean, the guy's never gotten a technical foul.
Yeah, we'll talk to Peter Edmiston about that later, but I gotta imagine that tribute video will be very heavy on Mike Conley.
Oh yeah,
highlights.
and if I was there, I might be one of the people that do tear up a bit.
Oh, really?
Because I mean, I was there on Zebo's return again with
the Grindhouse
with the Kings, and I was sitting in the media section. I was like, man, it's a little touching, man. You know, like it's going through all the memories.
A single tear, or was it just flowing out?
Oh, just a single tear.
Okay, a single tear.
I'm not that emotional.
A manly tear.
Yeah.
I get you. My not top story of the day is Antonio Callaway. He was released by the Browns yesterday, and it was ahead of a suspension that they thought was going to be handed down, and that suspension was handed down. The wide receiver has been suspended 10 games by the NFL. It's his second strike. He had it's a CBD supplement that he took, and it turns out it had THC in it. And this is his second substance abuse strike that he's had since being in the league. Of course, Callaway was suspended the first 4 games of this season for violating that substance abuse policy. He tested positive for the marijuana at the 2018 NFL Scouting Combine. He was cited for possession of marijuana his rookie year. Police also found bullets and a gun while searching in his vehicle. The possession charge was dropped at a hearing on January 25th. And Callaway pleaded guilty to operating without a valid license and speeding. And then also, before he was even drafted, while at Florida, Callaway was suspended for the entire 2017 season for allegedly using stolen credit card information to fund bookstore accounts. He was also cited at Florida for marijuana possession and possession of drug equipment in May of 2017 in Gainesville. So this is a guy that you knew that this could happen.
He had some baggage coming with him.
You knew that this could happen. I mean, he was a guy coming in the league that they had character issues written all over him. And obviously the Browns have done their thing. They tried to give him a second chance. It didn't really work out. But Antonio Callaway is now 10 games suspended for this year. But on the other side, we're going to come back with Bruce Marshall, and he is going to do some good handicapping for us this week.
Bruce has been great this year, especially in college football. So if you're headed down to Tunica or you got something on your phone, you definitely want to listen to Bruce coming up.
Absolutely. So we're going to ask him about some of the games this weekend. Bruce Marshall, obviously, of the Gold Sheet. When we return, right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
You're scrambling around. You need a haircut. Where you gonna go? I got a place that has 15 locations. I've got a place where details matter. I've got a place that can be invigorating and relaxing at the same time. You know what it is. It's Supercuts. Every haircut ends with the signature hot towel finish. Every haircut matters. When you're getting ready, you go into Supercuts. The stylist will pay attention to every detail. So you get the haircut you want, and, of course, you're going to finish with that signature hot towel. You walk out clean, sharp, and not just ready, but super ready. And you might want to ask that hairstylist about what the tea tree experience is. One part invigorating, one part relaxing. The tea tree experience is something you need to try. 15 locations. I mentioned that, didn't I? All you've got to do is go to supercuts.com. You'll find the one nearest to you. Get super ready at Supercuts. Listen up. If you're a parent or a young man looking for a sport that'll change your life, I want you to consider wrestling. This is a good sport that develops integrity, discipline, a strong work ethic at a fitness level that will last you a lifetime. Best way to learn this craft is at Elite Wrestling Academy on Highway 64 in Bartlett. It's located in the Memphis Judo and Jiu-Jitsu complex, or you can call them at 901-870-7275 or look them up on Facebook. At Elite Wrestling Academy, you have the top coaches of the game in Memphis, led by Chris Douglas and Jeremy Doty. The ratio is never more than 4-to-1 wrestlers to a coach, and they have 3 All-Americans, 3 state champions, and 3 wrestlers on the national team. This is a youth wrestling program for ages 1st grade through 8th, and is a feeder program for all Memphis high schools. If you're interested, you're invited to stop by, see the place, and you get a free week just to see if you like it. The boys practice 5:30 to 7:30 Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Presidents and CEOs and NFL players love wrestling. Come see why at Elite Wrestling Academy.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. If you need a roof for your home or business, we hope to hear from you and we will work hard to earn your business. We are experts and certified in residential and commercial roofing, siding, and gutter installation. We have been serving the Memphis area for over 20 years, and now with 2 of my sons working with me, we plan to be here for many years to come. So if you need a roof, please give us a call. On a personal note, what a great time to be a Memphis sports fan. With the Grizzlies' new look, the Redbirds, the 901 FC, and the Tigers football and basketball teams, it's going to be a fun year. Thank you to Coach Norvell, Coach Hardaway, and their staffs for your dedication to your student athletes, the University of Memphis, and to fans like me who have waited forever to have both the football and basketball teams ranked at the same time. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
One thing I really admire about Central Barbecue is their commitment to quality.
Then why do they let you do their commercials?
I'm talking about their food. Everything is prepared with devotion to taking the time and effort to create perfect barbecue.
Oh, I know. That's exactly why I was wondering why...
They're not kidding with that slow-smoked Memphis-style slogan. They smoke their pork for 14 hours. Do they have to? They do if they want to be the best barbecue in Memphis, and they are.
And yet they let you just throw together...
There's nothing better than Central Barbecue because they care.
Except apparently about their radio ads.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Welcome back. Drew Barrett, Gabe Kuhn filling in for Dave and Brett today. We're going to have Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet join us momentarily to talk a little bit of the weekend's matchups of college football, a little bit of NFL, and help you get ready for those matchups. But Penny Hardaway today, for the first time since they have dropped the suit with James Wiseman involved, talked to the media, and he just sort of reiterated his sentiments. He said, I'm with my guys. I have my guys' backs. And, you know, that's what's been lost in this whole thing. They say that they have no regrets in playing James through those 3 games, regardless of if he was ineligible or not. So we'll see how this happens. Obviously, we're looking at some type of suspension, but we're just going to have to move forward and sort of figure it out. But right now, we're going to have Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet join us. How are you, Bruce?
Hey, pretty good, guys. How you doing?
Doing well, Bruce. Going to go ahead and get started right off at college football. I think one of the games that kind of confuses me is Minnesota +3 at Iowa. I mean, obviously, Minnesota now in the top 10 of the CFP. Should they be a 3-point underdog?
I think so. Although, yeah, well, we'll find out. They've been perfect, as we know. That was the first real serious test they had last week, and they passed it with flying colors. Now, though, they got to go do this on the road a week after the biggest win in the program in decades, perhaps, and in a rivalry game against a very angry team. Now, Iowa's lost a lot of close games this year, so I'm not sure. That was a big game for Iowa last week, too, against Wisconsin. So I'm not sure if it's better bouncing back off of a close loss like that totally deflated Iowa or an uplifting win for Minnesota. But it's a rivalry. Floyd of Rosedale. It has lived in Iowa City the last 8 years. I think Iowa's rush defense can make Minnesota one-dimensional here, and will force Tanner Morgan, who looked good last week, but to make some plays on the road. And Kirk Ferentz has sort of had Minnesota's number. It's the best Minnesota team I know in many years, but Iowa's pretty robust, and I think this might be finally Iowa breaks through. But like I said, losing a lot of close games this year. This team is very close to being 10-0 sitting here right now.
Yeah, I have
that could be the unbeaten team.
Yeah,
so we took Iowa 28-21. Yep.
Yep. I have a brother that covers the Iowa Hawkeyes at length, and those guys it just seems with Kirk Ferentz there that they don't really have an offensive identity that has sort of morphed and evolved, and that has sort of been their downfall at this point in the season. It just sort of looks as if, like, against Michigan, scoring 3 points, against, Penn State scoring 12. I just wonder, if they can handle that at home. Minnesota's very interesting, though. And also with those trophies, I mean, the Floyd of Rosedale. I want to talk about the Paul Bunyan Trophy.
They have
Michigan,
a lot of trophies in the Big
Ten.
Ten.
The Big Ten. I guess it's the Midwest thing, but Michigan versus Michigan State. Michigan, 13.5-point favorites. They're playing for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. Big rivalry game. Obviously, Michigan has had their missteps this year, but for the most part have sort of gathered themselves. What do you think about this one?
History suggests this will be tough for Michigan, although you wonder, Michigan State, a lot of things have gone wrong there for Michigan State, and there's some distractions around the program now. There's more distractions than maybe Antonio should have kept Lewerke out, didn't do concussion protocol and all that last week.
Yep.
So it's not going well for Michigan State. However, I think the defense is still pretty functional. Illinois got some big plays, spooky sort of plays last week to get back in that game. But they have played Michigan so tough. Even when Michigan State really had a bad team 3 years ago, took Michigan right to the wire. That one was in East Lansing. So they got to go here in Ann Arbor. I remain a little bit unconvinced about Michigan being an overwhelming team. They played better the second half of the season here, and they only have that loss to Penn State. But I'm going to stick with series trends here and think Michigan State can keep this one kind of close. 27-20, our updated score forecast here, so that's well within the number. It's been Michigan has not won this game by more than 14 points in 17 years. When Bobby Williams was actually still the coach of Michigan State, that's right before he got fired. But I think Michigan State can probably hang in there tomorrow, but it's a little risky the way this season has kind of gone for the Spartans. As
far as their offense goes, obviously 13.5 points, I think they have a good defense, but as far as Michigan State's offense goes, they have not been able to get it going this year. Interesting one I'm looking at in Notre Dame. Navy is traveling there. Obviously, Navy poses some certain things about their offense, their triple option attack, that is very, very concerning. But Notre Dame, this is a big team. This is a team that has some good athletes. They recruit well year in, year out. Notre Dame is only, I say only on this, 7-point favorites. And should I be surprised by that line? Because it just seems a little small given sort of the where Navy is as a program and the name factor.
Well, at first blush, maybe. But I'll tell you, Navy, first of all, has played Notre Dame off its feet. and has covered the last 3, has won in recent memory at South Bend. You know, they went 43 years without beating Notre Dame until Paul Johnson did it in 2007. But they have covered 12 of the last 14 visits to South Bend. Now, this is a little bit of a reduced number, but look at what Navy's doing. First, some of these teams in the American are really good that Navy's been playing.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, and they've cut their points allowed about in half this year. This is the best Navy defense since George Welsh was there, from 34 points per game to 18 per game. I think Malcolm Perry is one of the best option quarterbacks I've ever seen. And you look, he's already well over 1,000 yards rushing. He's got a sneaky good passing attack. He's 7th nationally in passing efficiency. Now, he's not throwing the ball like Gordon at Washington State or anything like that, but he's been sneaky good. And I'm not sure how great Notre Dame really is. By the way, if somebody can knock off Memphis before the AAC title game, Navy's got a shot still at getting in the New Year's Six. And I think this is the best Navy team I have seen since. It's as good as any of Paul Johnson's better teams. And I'm going back to George Welsh, you know, in the late 70s, maybe where he had some good teams. But this is a really good Navy team. I think they got a shot here tomorrow, and I'm gonna call the upset 28-27. Midshipman anchors away.
Wow,
baby.
I did not expect that one, Bruce. Okay,
love it for the midshipman. Well,
okay.
let's go to the that Memphis at Houston. Memphis minus 10.5. Obviously, if you look back at recent history, I don't think other than the blowout win on Black Friday last year at the Liberty Bowl, that this game has been very, very close. Is 10.5 too much for Memphis?
It's a little scary. Yeah, I think we did it with Memphis. We picked Tigers 41-27. It's more just not really trusting Houston here. It hasn't gone well for Houston this year in Dana, although we got at least Toon. Well, Toon's been a little bit out of tune at quarterback. He hasn't been what Derek King was early in the season, or what King expected to be. But maybe Houston puts up a fight here. It's just not gone well for them. I think after some recent games, Memphis smells what might be coming here, and I think goes down. It has enough offense to handle this number. It's a little scary because it is kind of high. In a series, it's generally been competitive, but I don't think much of this Houston team here, and we think Memphis can go in there, take care of business, and we had it 41-27 Tigers.
Okay. So,
definitely like that. When the gold sheet's behind me, I feel a lot better going into tomorrow.
Yeah, and I played for the Tigers. I don't know if you knew that, Bruce, but yeah, it's that is always a very, very high emotional game for both those teams. So I think it might be close. I agree with that sentiment. I think they can cover that 10.5 for sure. A little bit of SEC stuff. Local, Ole Miss, LSU. Now, looking straight at it, 21.5 seems like it should be a cakewalk for LSU to handle. Do you think that will be the case with how well the quarterback's clicking, with how well, that defense hadn't played that well, but with John Rice Plumlee, they seem one-dimensional. Ole Miss does. What do you think about that line?
I think it's too much, and it's. I'm sticking my neck out here a bit, but I mean, if you subscribe to the letdown thing, this would be the spot. I mean, heck, they were celebrating like it was VE Day down in Baton Rouge after that game last week. I mean, it was big. I mean, 8 years. I mean, they let out. That's 8 years worth of excitement. They let loose all on Saturday night down there. And so they've been hearing all week how great they are. Ole Miss waiting here has played not too badly the second half of the season. They've been competitive in every SEC game, really. Plumlee has come on and given them a nice dimension. He's, turned into more of a threat than Corral. McIntyre's defense is better than what he inherited last year. I think Matt Luke is safe. And this is a big rivalry. I write about it in the Gold Sheet this week. In fact, I talked about when Ole Miss avenged that Halloween night loss in '59 about 2 months later on New Year's and blanked the Tigers in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. So there's some history here, too. I think Ole Miss puts up a fight. 45-30 LSU, I don't think they're going to win. LSU will eventually get control of the game, but I don't think they can push it past 3 touchdowns. Ole Miss will be an interesting underdog tomorrow in Vaught Hemingway.
Bruce, before we move on to the National Football League, is there another game in college football that you just really, really like this week?
A couple of underdogs. One, Again, I might be nuts here. I mean, I sound a little nuts picking Navy, I know. I think UCLA actually has a shot in this game at Utah tomorrow. I mean, nobody's given UCLA a chance. They have changed the last month. The last 3 games, UCLA has looked good, and they're going in there with a chip on their shoulder. They still got a chance in the Pac-12 South. I don't buy that Utah is the 7th best team in the country. UCLA, the defense has got much better. The coordinator, Jerry Aznaro, looks like a caveman, but he has changed things on that defense. I think they're going to play Utah pretty tough tomorrow. Also, Texas Tech should not be an underdog at home against TCU. TCU is right between Baylor, 3 overtime loss. Talked about a gut punch last week. They got Oklahoma coming up next. Jet Duffy, I think, is an advantage at quarterback. TCU's offense, this offense is an offense of broken plays. That's all it is. And Duggan, this freshman quarterback, he can make some plays at times. But, I mean, this is the most fire drill offense I have seen in a long time. Texas Tech looks like it knows what it's doing at least.
Yeah,
I'll take Texas Tech as a slight dog tomorrow.
I say Texas Tech, like they have had some sneaky good performances this year, and then at the same time, like they've fallen off. But I really do like that.
Yeah, I think they can hang in there tomorrow. Yep.
Real quick, moving on to the NFL. Probably one of the biggest games of the weekend, noon clock kickoff on CBS. Baltimore -4.5 at Houston. Lamar versus Deshaun Watson. That's what pretty much anybody has been talking about this week. Who wins that matchup? We think Lamar gets it or Deshaun?
Yeah, it's actually up in Baltimore. I think it's going to be close. We take Houston plus the points. Maybe Baltimore squeezes it out. This looks like maybe a 3-point game to us. Baltimore's looked really good recent weeks and has been winning games by a lot more than 3. But Deshaun Watson and Houston have had a very good record as an underdog. We know they can make plays. And this has been kind of a good role for them. And I just kind of think that Baltimore is going to have some problems here. Until the Patriot game, the Ravens had failed to cover 6 straight at M&T Bank Stadium. So they're kind of like Houston. They seem to play better on the road. And Watson, I think, can make enough plays. And this Baltimore defense, one thing, I mean, they're still pretty good, but they are not forcing the turnovers that they have in recent years. And that's one difference between this Baltimore defense and recent Baltimore defenses. 27-26, Ravens.
Close one.
That's a vote for the Texans plus the points on Sunday.
You just made our Baltimore fan Drew real happy on that.
Yeah, I feel great going in this weekend. You got my Tigers covering, you got my Ravens not covering but still winning. So, Bruce, I feel a lot of anxiety that I had going into this weekend has definitely gone off.
Well, I'm wrong once in a while, so
don't get your hopes up too much. But Monday night, this Chiefs-Chargers game, this is intriguing to me because I think the Chiefs, you know, if they were at home, maybe are 3.5 points better than the Chargers, but the Chargers have sort of hung in games where in the early season they were getting down really early and trying to play this comeback game. What do you think about this thing on Monday night?
Well, they're down in Mexico City. That's where the Chiefs were supposed to play last year, but the playing surface at Estadio Azteca was too messed up, and they had to move that game to the LA Coliseum against the Rams. Didn't work out too well for the Chiefs. Now they get a chance to go back in a stadium and add to the lore of the Azteca, where Pele and Diego Maradona once won World Cup. So now it's Patrick Mahomes' turn to get beside those two. I don't think the Chargers are going to keep pace. Something tells me now Phillip Rivers is to the point, he's not a detriment, but he's not what he was before. And they didn't slow down the Chiefs last year. Kansas City, talk about blowing a game last week. They really did. And even their defense gets skewered, but the defense actually made the stop it needed to make inside of 2 minutes. The offense just botched it, and then the field goal kicking was just absurd. But I think Kansas City bounces back. 35-26 Chiefs Monday night down in Mexico City. They got to win because the Raiders are right on their tail, by the way, in the West.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting division right there. But before we let you go, I have to get your thought. What about this debacle last night? What was that? Did you get to catch that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really was. I think, it's borderline mayhem.
Yes.
Who knows what was going on? It was a chippy game, and, Rudolph, I guess, is going to get to something too, but Garrett was way out of line. Listen, the Browns, Freddie Kitchens this team is out of control. I don't think he should be a head coach. There's no discipline on that team, and it's borderline mayhem with what they're doing. And the cheap shots earlier in the game, knocking out those Pittsburgh receivers. There's no place in it. Kitchens should not be. I thought something like this could happen. I didn't foresee that last night at the end of the game, but Kitchens doesn't have any control over these guys. And he's not mature enough. And his team is not mature enough to do anything this year. And this is on Jimmy Haslam, the owner, if you ask me. This guy should never be a head coach in the NFL.
Bruce, where can the people get more from you?
Thanks. Check us out online, goldsheet.com. Got that new basketball issue up there right now. Football comes out every Monday, and we've got all of our picks every night. Basketball tonight, hockey, college football, NFL comes up tomorrow. That's up at goldsheet.com. My picks are up there, also at Vegas Insider and DonBest.com.
Thanks for joining us, Bruce. We'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
That was Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet. When we come back, we will have John David Bedore from the Memphis Touchdown Club to tell you what's going on this Monday night. And also, so I think they might be doing some high school awards this week. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back here on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Get happy with Johnny Radio's Happy Hour. Weekday afternoons from 1 till 3 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Campbell Clinic now offers daytime walk-in care, and you don't need an appointment. If you've got any kind of urgent break, sprain, strain, you can walk into any of their 5 convenient locations Monday through Friday from 8 until 4. There's no long wait you have to put up with the ER, and those doctors are really good, but they're not orthopedists. They're not world-renowned orthopedists who have come up with different procedures and written the manuals for them that are used everywhere in the world, and I'm not kidding you. And you can now see those doctors who treat the Tigers, the Grizzlies, the Redbirds. You can see them today without an appointment. And I'm talking Collierville, Germantown, South Haven, downtown at the Med Center, or even the Campbell Clinic Spine Center in Cordova. Now, if you've got something pressing, you got to go to work, and you can bear the pain until the evening, there's Campbell Clinic After Hours. That's Monday through Thursday from 5 to 8 in Germantown, South Haven, even Saturday morning in Germantown. If you're injured, don't wait. Visit Campbell Clinic Walk-In Care or Campbell Clinic After Hours.
Farmers Insurance knows that when you're in the car and that song comes on, yes, that's the one, you have no choice but to pull out your imaginary drumsticks and smash those cymbals and stomp on that kick pedal, which unfortunately is the accelerator pedal. And we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent who knows a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
There's a new commissary in town in Collierville. Germantown Commissary is doubling. Yeah, they're still going to have the old Germantown Commissary by the tracks, but now there's a huge new Germantown Commissary in Collierville at Poplar and Houston Levee Road. It's huge, too. There's a drive-through. There's plenty of parking. No telephone pole to get in your way. A cool patio. It's right by the track, so the tradition continues. And this is a tradition that's been around forever. That commissary is famous for hickory-smoked, slow-cooked Memphis-style barbecue. They've got a private party room at the new one in Collierville. Self-catering still continues. Party packs for $5.95. Basically, the great ribs, the great pulled shoulder, the great deviled eggs. Everything is there in Collierville and Germantown now. So there is now a Germantown and Collierville style of barbecue. It's called Germantown Commissary.
Sponsor of this hour, and we appreciate them very, very, very much, is Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Give them a call at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Spring Sales Event. Great offers on all 2019 models and always on special lease options. If you ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus as well. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2019 flagship LS500, and you will be looking and driving great. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. 901-362-8833. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Now, back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on Sports 56 and 87.7 FM. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wolochin and Brett Norsworthy.
Gabe Kuhn and Drew Barrett sitting in for Dave and Brett Stats Norsworthy on this beautiful Friday. I hope you're all doing well out here, and I hope you have a good weekend as we come forward. But I'm still lost on that, on that Notre Dame Navy thing there from Bruce. But we have John David Bedore of the Memphis Touchdown Club joining us right now. John David, how are you, sir?
Okay, guys, how you doing?
Doing very well.
Let me tell you what. Last Monday night, we had our meeting at Tennessee night with Jeremy Pruitt. It was standing room only. There was so much excitement in the room. It was fantastic. And our prep player that we honored, Omari Thomas, really did a great job as a classy young man, accepting his award as our prep player that evening. And we're taking off this coming Monday, but we'll be back on November the 25th. That's the Monday before Thanksgiving with the top recruiter for 24/7 who covers the entire country, Barton Simmons. And Barton's been doing this for a long time. He's going to give us an overview of the country and how the teams are doing in the SEC, and then he'll cover Memphis. And he has an encyclopedic knowledge of all these players every year in recruiting.
John David, real quick, going back to Jeremy Pruitt, how did he kind of respond to the early season losses during the Touchdown Club meeting last week?
Well, he pretty much kind of blamed more the coaching staff than he did the players. He said he wished he could go back, but they learned a lot from it, and maybe it brought the team together, and they bonded, and they said, look, we've got to get it together. And he also said, look, you can't move forward looking in the rearview mirror. You just got to press on, win these next two games, and go to a bowl game and reward the seniors. And his whole focus is on the next game with Missouri up there.
100%. I think he's done a fantastic job with what was happening early in that season. But yeah, it's really cool, to see what he's been able to do at Tennessee. I predicted early in the year that they would be, an improved team, and they've done that so far this year for sure.
That's right. And, it comes down to recruiting. Recruiting is the lifeblood of college athletics, and that's where Barton and the guys at 24/7 are the best in the country at evaluating players. And, a lot of people get confused on, how do you rate a guy a 5, 4, 3-star? They rate them based on what they think they'll do in college, not what kind of career they've had in high school. That's one thing a lot of people get confused on.
Yeah,
and that's a hard thing to evaluate.
Yep, and that kid Omari Thomas over at Briarcrest, that's a heck of a player. I've gotten to watch his film, see what he's been able to do. So that's awesome that y'all, were able to show him his worth.
And looking around at the best players, Darren Turner there at Central, he just decommitted from Arkansas. With what's going on at Arkansas, and it's looking around. You got the three great players at Whitehaven, Easton, French, and McDonald, that committed to Tennessee. You got Corbett Mims, who I think is a tremendous guy, committed to Arkansas State, and Jabari Small to Ole Miss, and then Marcus Henderson, the big lineman at MUS.
Yep.
I don't think anybody's got an idea what he's going to do.
That's how those things work, though. But John David,
it does.
We appreciate you joining us for this little bit of time, and
Well, anybody that wants to come, that's Monday, November the 25th. Go to tdcmemphis.com, tdcmemphis.com. Go on there. It's $40, and that includes a dinner there at the Hilton. And we welcome everybody to come.
100%. Well, thanks, John David. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Well, that was John David Bedore from the Memphis Touchdown Club. Make sure you go and sign up, $40, he says. But on the other side, we're going to have Peter Edmiston join us. And Peter is probably down at the FedEx Forum right this second. And you know what's happening tonight? Mike Conley is returning. He is returning. Past meets the future. I really like that.
Thank you.
I like that. But we'll be back on the other side.
Already.
We'll be back on the other side with Peter Edmiston right here on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
and paid for by Protect My Car. Attention vehicle owners with an auto warranty about to expire or with no coverage at all. No matter the mileage on your vehicle, Protect My Car can provide a unique extended service plan to help you avoid costly repair bills and save you thousands. To celebrate 15 years in business, we further reduced our rates, and we're adding free roadside assistance, free towing, and free car rental at no cost to all new service plans. Call 800-981-7508 for your free quote. Again, that's 800-981-7508.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. With a family coming home for the holidays, are you going to be running out of hot water? Not with a tankless water heater from Conway Services. It may be time for a tankless water heater that never runs out of hot water. Conway Services is making now the perfect time to replace that old energy-guzzling tanked water heater with 24 months to pay, interest-free. Or I'll give you $250 for that old tanked water heater. These energy-saving models only heat the water you use, saving you money on your gas bill every month. Plus, no more worrying about that tank bursting in your attic either. And you know, with Conway Services, you'll be receiving our award-winning service every time. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier tankless water heater professionals at 384-3511. That's 384-3511. And the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old water heater will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also keep up to date with everything going on by keeping up with Sports 56 on social media. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch for information on breaking news, chances to win prizes, and video of all the shows. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 on social media. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
This situation wrecks me. I can't stand the way you do it.
Welcome back in. Drew Barrett, Gabe Kuhn, sitting in for Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy on this beautiful Friday. We're going to have Peter Edmonton.
Wait, am I crazy? But when you say my name first, it almost sounds like you're saying that you're Drew Barrett.
Really?
I think it does. Am I crazy?
Probably not. I mean, that's probably the normal. But I like to give you credit first.
I appreciate
I like people around me. You know what I mean?
I mean, come on.
I try to
you
bring up
you got to give me my veteran status. My name goes first. And if we're going alphabetically, that and better look, best looking, more
best
talented.
Looking, not even close.
I mean, I've got to go
John
first.
tells me about how buddy you look back in the day, okay? So
that was back in the day.
But we're going to have Peter.
One of us has a fiance and the other one just has a girlfriend. So I'm just saying.
Okay, but like when you're talking about years, like how long have you been with your fiance?
Almost 15 months.
Well, try 5 years, homeboy.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to like.
All I know is I like it, so I put a ring on it. That's all I'm saying.
Your
little Beyonce.
Okay, let's get Peter on here before Drew goes off the rails. Peter, what's happening, man?
Don't ask me to save you from Drew. Too late.
He's going Beyonce on me. I can't deal with that right now.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to put down my relationship. Like,
I'm not
what's
putting
going
down.
on here?
I'm just
like,
saying I'm better looking.
We're colleagues. We're supposed to bring each other up, not put each other down. Am I right?
Yeah, it's very sad. It's sad what's happened in just an hour of radio together.
Yeah. I don't know if we probably shouldn't do this.
Move me over to this side of the glass. That
after
the
these
ego,
3 hours.
my ego and my head have just gotten so big that it can't fit back through the door.
Man, after these 3 hours, I never want to do it again. I'm just kidding. But Peter, you down at FedEx Forum right now?
I am not actually. It's weird. This is one of the rare ones I have to miss because I am in addition to being a guy that covers the Grizzlies, I'm a youth basketball coach. We have a practice. I cannot move this practice.
Oh my gosh!
This evening, I got an evening practice tonight. So yeah.
So being a youth basketball coach, like, what are the scores of these games?
Not much. Not a lot of points.
Not a lot of travels called.
We try to make it fun. I mean, honestly,
of course.
I'm not really I'm not one of these crazy Bobby Knight style. We're not.
You're not throwing chairs.
We're not freaking out here. So, just trying to have fun.
I would pay to see that, though, if you threw a chair at a youth basketball game.
Well, I do get mad sometimes. I mean,
that would end up on a forum of some sort.
Well, Peter, is there anybody on your team that I need to keep a close eye on for the next 10 years?
Yeah, we'll have to. Let me get you updated on that one in a few weeks. We're going to see how it goes. But I think we could have some bright young stars in the game. Look out.
Y'all have only had a couple scouts come by the games. I get it.
That's a few. Listen, it's tough world out there. You know what I mean? You got some people trying to give some kids some, free Disney Plus subscriptions and stuff. It's a rough world out there.
Nice, man. But Mike Conley's returning tonight.
Yes.
Did you get to talk to him today at all?
No, I have not spoken to Mike today. But I mean, it's a special night, man. It really is. It's a shame. I'm very sad that I can't be there for it. Because what Mike meant. I think everyone knows what Mike meant to the community, what he meant to the team, what he meant for the city, all that stuff. And I know, having spoken to him in the past, I know how much he's been looking forward to this, but also in a way kind of dreading the emotions that come along with it. Because, there's going to be an emotional tribute video. There's going to be, a lot of teammates that'll be there. Just a lot of that kind of stuff that's hard for guys to maintain focus. He's still trying to get used to playing with the Jazz. And he's gotten off to a little bit of a rough start for them. So, putting all that together is not easy for him. So, it's kind of one of those, you're looking forward to it, but also you kind of want to get it behind you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a spectacle. It's sort of like people are forgetting the fact that they actually play the Jazz tonight, and they're more worried. It seems to be they're more worried about Mike Conley returning than anything.
That's natural. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, and it's he's a special guy. And
Absolutely.
And I know it's going to be weird for fans. There's no way they're going to do anything other than just cheer and go crazy. And rightly so. What he's done, he deserves that.
Well, with Mike Conley returning, I'm going to go ahead and put you on the spot. Rank the core four, 1 through 4, as importance to the city of Memphis.
Well, that's the thing. Like, importance to the city of Memphis, probably. Oh man, it's hard. That's a hard one.
I know. I told you I was putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, importance to the city, I'd probably go Zach 1. I'd probably go Zach, Mike, Mark, Tony in that order.
See, I was going to say if we needed to give you a little extra time, I could get Drew to sing some Beyonce again.
Dear God, no. Allow me to
God,
save everyone from that.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's what I mean. It's tough because I've argued forever that all of them should go, and there should be a statue of all 4 together. Because it's like, to me, you can't really separate any of those guys. They all work together, man. Mike and Mark had a special relationship, but I mean, in all of them, in Zach. Turned into a completely different player than when he arrived in Memphis. Was beloved by everyone. Tony Allen, same thing, even though he won a championship. In Boston, he was kind of a bit player, and he became a star, a defensive star here in Memphis. And then we've seen what happened with Mike and Mark. So it's hard to separate them, honestly. Like, I think they should all be enshrined together and have a big statue outside of FedEx Forum.
So down to the actual basketball part of this whole thing, I think for me, like, one of the most interesting things tonight is going to be sort of a Ja Morant versus Mike Conley matchup. Like, what do you think about that? They sort of they have contrasting styles. Ja Morant's an explosive athlete,
more flashy.
Still gets his teammates involved, but Mike Conley's sort of the slow, developing, shoot it a little bit, still get his athletes involved. What do you think about that? Their contrasting styles and how that matchup's going to look tonight?
I mean, they certainly are different. And Mike, it's going to really come down, honestly, to are these guys going to buy into that matchup, or is it just going to be another night at the office once they get going? I could see Ja kind of pushing a little bit, and maybe getting himself into a little bit of trouble because he just kind of pushes too hard. That's certainly a possibility. I think in the same way with Mike. Mike's trying to press a little bit because he wants to do the right thing, and he wants to have a big time return to FedEx Forum. So I could see both guys kind of pressing a little bit, and this thing kind of ending up being a little bit disappointing. I hope that's not the case. Mike is such a good defensive player and a crafty defensive player, but he's going to have to be because Ja's a little bit bigger, certainly longer, certainly way more athletic, and so Ja's ability to get to his spot in just the 10 games that we've seen him so far is remarkable. We've talked about it on the show in the mornings, me and CJ, but he's played 10 games in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And the iconic moments that he's created in those 10 games, he's had 2 phenomenal last-second plays with the block on Kyrie Irving and then had that layup against Charlotte. And then he had the assist to set up Jay Crowder for the victory in that Brooklyn game. There's a lot of dudes who play a lot of years who don't have any of those. He's had them in 10 games. So he's a different kind of player, but remarkable nonetheless.
Yeah, you just alluded to Mike Conley's craftiness defensively. Do you think, Ja Morant's athleticism will sort of put him in a bind at times tonight?
It could. I think that kind of remains to be seen as far as, Mike's dealt with. Yeah, you've seen him defend, tons of super athletic point guards. He's, my goodness, the Grizzlies Thunder matchups with him and Russell Westbrook are legendary. So he knows how to deal with those guys. He can stay very composed. He's a really disciplined defender. So I wouldn't necessarily worry, that Mike is going to be overwhelmed or anything like that. I do think Ja, though, can get to a spot and cause Mike some difficulty. The Jazz just happen to be, one of the better defensive teams, even though they've struggled a little bit. Kind of just, and I say struggle, they're playing well. They struggled basically relative to very lofty expectations in terms of just getting guys integrated. But they've got Rudy Gobert, who is defensive player of the year candidate every year in the middle. So how Ja decides to kind of deal with that is going to be fascinating because he loves to get to the rim, but you get to the rim against Gobert, that's hard to do, man. Are you going to get right into his body and try to just go right through him? Are you going to have to settle for that little floater? How are you going to craftily get your way? Because Mike knows, unlike the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson is a very, very good defender. Brandon Clark, a very good defender. Jonas, a big dude, not the greatest defender, but, it's not the same as Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is a rim protector, bar none. So that makes Mike's job a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. And as you said earlier, Ja Morant's played 10 games in the NBA, while the Grizzlies have played 11. Obviously, taking off last Saturday night for quote-unquote load management. But the load management kind of seems like it worked due to the fact that the Grizzlies are going on a 2-game win streak, and Ja Morant hit the game-winning shot in the last game earlier this week. Are you okay with the load management now because it kind of seems like it worked out, or should Ja Morant have played 11 games to this point?
Again, I think the load management is going to be a much longer-term thing than just this game. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to make any kind of judgment on what happened. I think he would have done the same thing in Charlotte, whether he played or not last Saturday. The medical kind of studies and all the information there is still up in the air as to what, how beneficial that is. How do you deal with that sort of thing? I'm fine with the concept of load management. What I was not fine with, I wrote about this, I talked about this, I'm not fine with it coming at the expense of him playing at home. I think you could have easily sat him with an injury thing last Friday in Orlando on the first night of a back-to-back, and then played him against Luka Doncic and the Mavericks last Saturday. You could have easily done that. I think that would have been fine. We've already seen, we saw the Mavericks do that with Kristaps Porzingis in Memphis last week when they played him in Dallas in the front half of a back-to-back and then sat him in Memphis. We saw Joel Embiid this week with Philly do the same thing, coincidentally enough in Orlando they sat him in Orlando after they played the night before in Philly on a back-to-back. So that's my issue, Drew. It's not that they sat him. It's that they sat him at home when you're trying, you've sold the fans on, you're going to watch young players, you're going to watch them bloom right in front of your eyes and all that. And this kid is playing, he's ready, he's playing well, he's doing great stuff. And they say, no, we can't play him. A lot of people drove in to watch Ja versus Luka, and they left very disappointed. And I wonder how many are going to make that same mistake and guessing that the Grizzlies are going to play their guys again.
So do you think it'll cause long-term negative effects for the NBA as a whole, for the league as a whole, or do you think that people will start to get used to the idea? Because at this point, you got Mark Cuban coming out. He's in favor. There's a lot of people in favor.
LeBron's blaming the whole thing on AAU ball.
Yeah, but do you think it will actually show some long-term negative effects for this league?
It's hard to say. I think it could. Again, it's just a matter of common sense. If you're a fan and you've paid good money to see a player that you expected to play, and that player doesn't play not because of injury, but just because of precautionary load management, and teams aren't upfront with their customers about those nights and about what's going to happen, then you got the recipe for a problem. You got a recipe for a big problem right there. So I think it's going to depend on how the team's communicated. It's going to depend on how load management goes long term. There's a way to do it. I have no problem with doing it, but ultimately, guys, to me, it just tells you that the science seems to push in the direction that an 82-game schedule is too much, that these guys cannot handle it, whether it's because the game is faster, which it certainly is, whether there's more defensive movement that has to be done, which there certainly seems to be. But whatever it may be, the fact remains that it seems as though 82 games is just too much for these guys. So the question is, what do you do about it? And are you willing to forego that money to shorten the season to get a better product?
Well, if the NBA is not willing to shorten the season, obviously the owners probably aren't going to be up for it because they don't want to lose revenue, and they insist on doing load management. Could it be to where, maybe next season or the year after, where we've kind of committed to load management, coming out with what games different players are going to load manage before the season even starts? That way people aren't, buying tickets as Christmas presents, as birthday presents to come see, LeBron with the Lakers or Kyrie with the Nets, and that just happens to be the time that they're taking load management. And obviously when you have teams like that roll into town, the ticket prices get spiked. So should the NBA basically have a load schedule management before the year? That way their fans aren't as mad about it because they did spend twice as much on that game than they would a normal game?
Well, that's going to be part of it. Again, I think it's going to be a matter of communication. I think they've got to communicate and be honest with their fans. It's not about the league to me necessarily as a whole. I think it's more about each team and about how they're going to handle it, and how you have that relationship with your fans. You got to be honest with your fans. If you're going to sit a guy at home, you need to let the fans know that as soon as you possibly can, so that they can make arrangements like that. I don't think we're going to see. We may see teams get 4 or 5 allocations. And they may have to give those a month in advance or 3 weeks in advance or 2 weeks in advance, some kind of time in advance so that you would know, okay, plan for this accordingly. I don't think the NBA is going to be, it wouldn't be very smart to just be completely shut it down. Listen, this game against the Bucks coming up is going to suck. We're going to have nobody playing. Do not buy tickets for this, guys. This is going to be terrible. I don't think that's real smart.
Yeah.
You got to walk the line of how to sell the product while also being honest with your fans. You might not see Jaren Jackson tonight. You might not see John Morant tonight because we got to hold them out. That kind of stuff. I don't envy them. It's not easy, but there's definitely a way to do it better. And I did not think the Grizzlies handled it very well at all.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Grizzlies is you're sitting 20-year-olds and 22-year-olds. And one of those guys was Brandon Clark, and I think he's been an absolute stud.
For me, the only person that should really be worried about load management is Vince Carter because
older.
the dude's almost in a wheelchair.
Yeah, well, I think Kawhi has his reasons for why he should be dealing with it.
We saw last year I mean, it was very, very obvious that the load management worked beautifully for them in the postseason, and he was hobbled, man. In the final, like, you know, he could not do a whole lot. He made the most of what he could do, but it was evident that he was still hurt. I think he's healthier this year than he was last year. That's important for him. Obviously, the older players, you have to load manage them. But yeah, the difference is it's a young player. We've never really seen it on this scale with a young player who is presumably healthy. And John Morant had minor knee surgery over the summer, but it wasn't any big deal and didn't keep him out of any major action. And he came straight into training camp and he's been ready to go. We haven't seen that with a young player before. We haven't really seen anything quite like that. So, yeah, that is a difference. And that's one where the teams, to me, it's incumbent upon the teams to get out there and explain to their customers and show them and say, look, here's the data. Here's what we think. If we think if we sit X number of games or we sit Jared X number of games at the age of 20, that they're going to be good to go by the age of 23, 24. They're going to be better. They're going to be healthier, et cetera, et cetera. And you just got to lay that out to people so that they understand what's going on. Because if, you know, you're just asking them to take your word for it, I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, sitting down your young guys, you know, in a home game that you would hope would sort of spark the people to buy tickets down the road does not seem like a good business plan. But Brandon Clark, one of the guys
the whole point, and the thing is, like, the other factor of this, guys, is that it's one thing if you load manage Kawhi, because like the Clippers are going to make the playoffs. So you're load managing them for April, May, June when you're not load managing and you play every other night and everything's cool. You're load managing John Morant
for what?
For 2021, 2022. Okay, cool. Like, I'm buying my season ticket for 1920. Well, what am I buying? What's that product? What are you selling me? You know, that's a harder sell than load management with an eye on the playoff in a deep playoff run. This is a whole different thing. So that, again, it's just about communication and making it up to fans and saying, look, if you're part of a season ticket package and you come on a night where John Morant is sitting, then we'll make it up to you. We'll bump off, you know, the cost of your ticket for next year's season ticket, or, you know, something along those lines where you can make it up to the fan and say, I know, you know, we don't want you to load manage your wallet. You know, we don't want you to load manage your experience with us. So let's find a way to work this thing out.
So would you be more in favor if you see more, you know, especially with young players like what the Grizzlies did last year with Jaren Jackson and sitting him for a better part of the back half of last season? Would that be more on par with what you think this load management would look like for sort of younger players and people that won't make the playoffs?
Well, in that case, you know, Jaren was hurt. I mean, obviously he could have played in theory. Like, you know, they were being extremely cautious with his thigh injury at that point, but he was injured. So I think there's a difference there. I mean, again, I don't have access to, and I am not smart enough to understand all the details of every little thing that happens from a medical situation. Like, you know, and even within the medical community and the training staff and the performance staff that all these teams have, you know, there are disagreements as to, you know, the efficacy of this stuff. Like, you know, is it better to rest a guy for a full game and then have him play, you know, full load, full game, 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it is, the next games? Or is it better to say, let's shave off 20, 25 minutes and keep your minutes level down over more games, but don't any games? You know, like, we don't really know. We don't know long term. We just don't have enough data on what's the most effective way to go, which is why, you know, you can have faith in your performance staff, but if that faith in your performance staff comes at the cost of, you know, hurting your fans, then, you know, to me, that's where you have to have some explaining. And I think the Grizzlies, they've done a lot right. So I'm not trying to drag them through the mud. I don't think they're doing it on purpose necessarily, but I do think the communication has been a problem for them.
Yeah, real quick, Peter, before I have to let you go, I want to talk to you about your tweet that you sent out this morning about Brandon Clark's per 36 numbers. I mean, they are phenomenal. I mean, oh my goodness.
He's a really, I mean, the thing is, man, as I've written about him and researched him and talked to the guy, he just doesn't seem like a rookie at all. You know, he's 23, so he's older. You know, he's 3 years older than Jaren. And he kind of comes across that way. Like, when you talk to him, he's just the most even keel, level-headed dude that you could imagine, and he does not play like a rookie. I mean, he came into the league. Everyone knew that, efficiency-wise, he was probably the most efficient player, or second most efficient player in college basketball last year behind or alongside Zion. It was him and Zion basically at the top. These dudes are shooting, 65, 70% from the field, all kinds of, inside, great finishing at the rim, great athleticism, all that stuff. The thing with Brandon Clark was we didn't know his mid-range game, the ability to get these floaters and runners and leaners that he's kind of developed. That was not really a big part of his college repertoire at all. And then the three-point shot, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I encourage you to check it out if you have not.
It's nice.
Go find, there's no link in that story, but I've linked it before. What Brandon Clark's shot looked like when he was at San Jose State prior to transferring to Gonzaga about 2 or 3 years ago. Look at his shot, and then look at it now. It is unrecognizable. He used to put the ball in like almost like shot put it. It was on his shoulder, and he'd kind of fling it at the basket. It was horrendous. And he has completely overhauled his shot now to the point where it's a good-looking three-point shot. Like, the dude's worked hard, and, man, the sky's the limit for him. He plays so within himself. He's an awesome player.
Yeah, and the thing is, he only had one good year of coaching at the college level with Mark Few at Gonzaga. Before that, San Jose State. I'm not, putting down their coaches there, but that is San Jose State. That's a mid-major situation. But if you're Taylor,
you can put down the coaches there, Gabe. I'll be honest with you.
All right, okay, that's fine. But I mean, Mark Few or San Jose State's head coach. It's not a put down. It's
I'm just saying you're dogging him out.
Okay. You can think that. You can think that. That's fine. But if you're Taylor Jenkins moving forward, do you think you would give Brandon Clark starting minutes or keep him in that same capacity right now, where he is sort of providing somewhat of a spark off the bench?
I mean, I think there's no rush to do anything because obviously they're not. They're not in any kind of a winning mode right now, so it's not like you have to worry about what's the best as a competitive standpoint. He's fine right now, development-wise, doing what he's doing. He plays 20, somewhere between 18 and 25 minutes a game, and sometimes he's closed out games. So you can. He was closing out the other night against Charlotte. It's probably going to continue as he gets better. I think the problem is if you want to put him in the starting lineup, who do you replace him with? Unless you play him at the 3, which I've talked to him about, that's not really part of their plan. I guess it's possible to see him there, but unless you were to replace like Jay Crowder long term with Clark, are you replacing Jaren? No. Are you replacing Jonas? No, not while he's here. If Jonas were to be traded, I suppose then you slot him into the starting lineup, but there just isn't a spot for him right now. So, and there's really no need to rush and get him in there. Though, I'd love to see him play more minutes because I like watching the dude play.
Yeah. And there's certainly questions about Jay Crowder's future as a Grizzly, but he is Peter Edmondson.
He won't be here beyond this year, and he may well be traded before the trade deadline. That's certainly possible, but that doesn't mean Brandon's a 3 either. So I don't know. There's still some questions.
Yeah, for sure. But he is Peter Edmondson at Peter Edmondson on Twitter. You can find him 7 to 10 on these airwaves. The Peter Edmondson Experience with C.J. Hurt, and find all his work on The Athletic. Peter, I appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
Get back to coaching up our youth.
Yeah, man, we're just going to make this happen. We're just going to get these kids out there, and we're just going to make it happen. It's going to be great.
Real grinders, man. Real grinders.
A bunch of grinders, a bunch of kids out there just working hard.
First one in, last one to leave.
Oh, baby, you're packing at once. Let's go.
All right, Peter, man. We'll talk to you later.
See you, boys.
But yeah, that was Peter Edmondson right there. Very, very insightful stuff. Very insightful.
And I hope he lets me know who to keep an eye on here in 10 years. There's got to be somebody on that team.
Hey, Peter's got some he's got a wealth of basketball knowledge. I'm sure he's coaching up our youth the right way.
I'm sure but I don't want to. I can't meet these kids, especially who knows? I might buy one of them a Gatorade.
That's the route we're taking.
As a Memphis alum and a guy that's given some money back, I'm now a booster, so I don't want to get anybody in trouble. 30 years down the road here.
Well, I like what you did there. I like what you did there. But on the other side, we're going to talk some high school sports, high school football, and playoffs have started with Glenn Rogers. But we'll be back on the other side. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Sports 56 now has 2 FM homes. You can now find real sports talk on 96.1 as well as 87.7 on your FM dial.
The Man Cave sales happening now at Family Leisure. 3-piece theater seating sets, only $9.99. Massage chairs, starting at $6.99. Pool tables, now at $14.99. And shuffleboard tables, well, they start at $19.99. Still need to close your pool down? Call Family Leisure to get on the schedule. Mention this ad, $20 off. Complete your Man Cave today at Family Leisure. Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together. Listen up. If you're a parent or a young man looking for a sport that'll change your life, I want you to consider wrestling. This is a good sport that develops integrity, discipline, a strong work ethic at a fitness level that will last you a lifetime. Best way to learn this craft is at Elite Wrestling Academy on Highway 64 in Bartlett. It's located in the Memphis Judo and Jiu-Jitsu Complex, or you can call them at 901-870-7275 or look them up on Facebook. At Elite Wrestling Academy, you have the top coaches of the game in Memphis, led by Chris Douglas and Jeremy Doty. The ratio is never more than 4-to-1 wrestlers to a coach, and they have 3 All-Americans, 3 state champions, and 3 wrestlers on the national team. This is a youth wrestling program for ages 1st grade through 8th, and is a feeder program for all Memphis high schools. If you're interested, you're invited to stop by, see the place, and you get a free week just to see if you like it. The boys practice 5:30 to 7:30 Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Presidents and CEOs and NFL players love wrestling. Come see why at Elite Wrestling Academy.
And paid for by Protect My Car. Attention vehicle owners with an auto warranty about to expire or with no coverage at all. No matter the mileage on your vehicle, Protect My Car can provide a unique extended service plan to help you avoid costly repair bills and save you thousands. To celebrate 15 years in business, we further reduced our rates, and we're adding free roadside assistance, free towing, and free car rental at no cost to all new service plans. Call 800-981-7508 for your free quote. Again, that's 800-981-7508.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
What comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner.
Are y'all gearing up at the Rendezvous for the holiday season?
We've got ribs, shoulders, nacho boxes. We're stacking them high. The elves are working hard getting ready for the Christmas season. You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948. If you are thinking about renting or purchasing a compact excavator, the best choice is Bobcat. Bobcat excavators are made in America and proudly represented by the Mid-South's largest compact equipment dealer. With 9 offices, Williams Equipment has the most locations for rental, sales, and service. Whether you do plumbing, utilities, swimming pools, concrete breaking, or foundations, Williams Equipment has the right Bobcat excavator for you.
This is Cody Bumpus, the Bobcat Specialist of North Mississippi. Call me for a demonstration and a finance quote at 901-508-8739.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, more of Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on Sports 56 and 87.7 FM. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back to a little Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. I am Drew Barrett alongside Gabe Kuhn filling in for Dave and Brett. We're about to get started to talk some high school football as we are in the playoff with MUS coach Glenn Rogers. How are you doing today, Coach? Y'all got Knoxville Catholic coming in tonight for the first round of the playoffs.
Absolutely, and good afternoon to all our listeners. And, Knoxville Catholic, big and physical up front. They got a Mays. The Mays kid is committed to Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
They got another kid up front committed to UT. And T. Martin, the famous Tennessee quarterback that won a national championship, his son is their sophomore quarterback. So we got our work cut out for us tonight. But you know what? This time of year, everybody has their work cut out for them.
A little home crowd Home crowd help you?
Man, I'm telling you, I'm glad we didn't have to take that 6.5-hour bus ride. And so they took the bus ride and got here last night. And I'm just excited to see our kids. You know, we had a bye last week. And so I'm excited to see our kids get out and play. I know they're anxious.
Speaking of that bus ride, I know Christian Brothers is on the eastern side of the state. As a coach, how do you keep your team focused when you do have to play a playoff game on the other side of the state, changing time zone, long bus ride? How do you keep your bunch of high school kids focused on the task at hand?
That's a hard job.
Because I remember when I was in high school, I was never focused on anything.
On a bus ride or overnight, you know, it's hard. It's difficult. And, you know, each coach does it different. You know, when we played out there, we always went down there earlier. We never stayed the night. We won my second year at MUS. We stayed the night in Chattanooga, and it was a disaster. The kids was up all night, and we didn't play well, and we lost. And then so we kind of cut that part out. So we always usually travel the day of, and you know, try to keep it a normal routine as far as when you travel that far, you kind of get out of the norm because the kids don't go to class. And so you leave a little early, then you catch a break. You know, you try to break up the trip. So you usually we stop in Nashville, on the other side of Nashville, break up the monotony a little bit, get out and stretch, maybe do a little walkthrough, then get back on the bus and try to get in town earlier where you can relax a little bit, then have a little meeting, meeting before pregame, and then try to get them back focused because that is a long bus ride.
Yeah, I used to hate getting stiff on them long bus rides, man. But obviously you got to handle business tonight. Yeah. But the rest of the Division II AAA bracket, man. Who obviously talent all over the place,
murderer's
man.
row, baby.
I'm telling you, but who down the road here, looks scariest to you when you look at the rest of this bracket?
Well, in our bracket, you got definitely Catholic is a team that if this time of year, Gabe, this playing football. If you don't come out swinging and come out firing on all cylinders, you could be going home. You could be packing the bags up early.
And there's a lot of film to watch at this point in the season, too.
Yeah, we watched every game they played. Our league, we always share all our films on Huddle. And so we had a lot of time to break the film down. The teams on our side, Catholic, MBA, and Baylor out of Knoxville, every one of those teams could be a contender in the state championship game. So you got to be well prepared. Briarcrest on the other side, along with McCauley. And then you got Innsworth. All those teams are good, solid football teams. Everybody's well coached in our league. Everybody has facilities. And so it's just a roll of the dice to see who's playing well. And, fortunately, we've been playing pretty well these last few weeks.
You feeling good about a deep run this year?
Absolutely. I'm feeling real good. I think our kids, we played a real tough schedule. Coming down the stretch, we had some tough games against White Station and Briarcrest. We had to battle through some adversity. Yeah. And so, I feel like we're battle tested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sticking with White Station, they got a matchup against undefeated Houston tonight. White Station got a shot against that. I know Houston's got one of the most underrated running backs in the state.
I was glad to see he picked up a nice little D1A offer from Arkansas State this week, too.
You know what? And hats off to that young man because he's a great player, very good, solid high school kid. And from everything I hear, he's a great young man character-wise. But, tonight they're going to go against a good White Station team. Plenty of athletes. Big Ray Curry, their left tackle, is committed to Missouri. And so when we played White Station, we were down 12 zip.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they jumped on us early. We turned the ball over, but they jumped on us early. And so if Houston doesn't come out firing on all cylinders, White Station has some athletes to make the ball game interesting.
He's just trying to hold old Lincoln Perry under 300 yards rushing, man. And that has not been an easy task lately, man.
That's not easy task.
But in Division II AA, a little bit more of the private schools, you got ECS going tonight against Battleground Academy, and you got another sort of across the state academy, Franklin Road Academy against Los Angeles. What do you think about those games?
Yeah, in Battleground and in ECS, you got Jonas Rodriguez, the old coach from ECS, is back playing his former team. And that game is going to be very interesting because Jonas knows those kids. Those kids know him, the coaching staff, Trey Adams, the head coach now at ECS, and Scott Vogel. They work for Jonas. So that'll be a game that I'll really be interested to see what goes on after our ball game because those are two staffs that know each other very, very well. Mm-hmm. And then you talked about the other game, Los Angeles and FRA.
Yeah.
Los Angeles had a scare last week with St. George, 19-17. Mm-hmm. And so I think Los Angeles got a few guys banged up, but FRA is going to come in, and that's going to be an exciting ball game as well. And, you don't know with tonight with the conditions, the kicking game is going to be a factor the kicking game is going to be a factor in all these games tonight.
Yeah.
Field position.
With the way the private schools are now done, it's a lot different back in my day where we only had two. You only had the two divisions, and I was at poor little old Rossville was getting beaten up by ECS, USJ, JCS. You name them, anybody that just got barely underneath the attendance. So I'm glad they separated that out a lot. Talking about some games here in the city, Memphis Central versus Whitehaven. Obviously, I think Whitehaven's probably the big favorites, but Central's played some good games this year. I know they played Germantown and Christian Brothers this year and gave them both a fight.
Definitely, and Major Wright got a big win last week. Beat Collierville in a first round battle. And, the first time around, Whitehaven blanked Central. Mm-hmm. Now, I think that game will be a lot more interesting tonight. I'm sure Major's got a few things figured out with Whitehaven's defense. And Coach Salisbury, Whitehaven, and his staff, they always do a tremendous job. They got 3 legitimate Division I prospects, all 3 of them committed to UT. And so that game will be a knockdown, drag-off slugfest tonight, defensively, I think.
Yeah, and then in 5A, I think there's some decent matchups. You see Southwind. I had a couple of buddies I got to play at the U of Memphis with, man.
That's right.
It was Southwind. They're playing Dyer County tonight, 9-2. Good team. So what do you think about Southwind's chances in 5A? 2
good matchups. Coach Slocum at Southwind, and then one of my cousins, Earl Lester, is the D coordinator. Big win last week for them. Now they go to Dyer County 9-2. In this time of year, home field advantage is a big key, and you want to be playing well during the regular season when you're hosting. And so they're going to face some adversity. Hopefully they can, get through that first wave because this when you go on the road, that first wave really hits you. Those home teams come out swinging. And so if you can survive that first wave and keep everybody focused and hopefully you're not down in a big deficit, then you give yourself a chance to win a ball game. And hopefully the Southwind survives that first initial shock that hit.
Yeah. Down in Mississippi, just right off the border, Horn Lake, great story last year.
Absolutely.
I believe they won the state title last year.
6A state champion.
Yeah. Blew the doors off of Starkville last year in the playoffs with Rodriguez Clark from Starkville. They play tonight down in Starkville. How do you see that one turning out?
And, like I said last year, they beat Starkville in the state championship game. And I think Starkville is probably looking for a little revenge. Mm-hmm. Horn Lake lost a lot of kids. The linebacker went to Georgia. They had a kid signed with LSU.
That linebacker, his name escapes me right now, but I remember watching him last year.
N'Kobe Dean.
Yes, N'Kobe Dean. Yeah. If he wanted to, he could have signed a full ride scholarship to play fullback or running back. I mean, That kid was great on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and so they don't have a weapon like that this year. And, anytime you lose great players, we lost Maurice Hampton. And if you don't have guys to replace them, you got to, coaching-wise, you got to come up with some kind of scheme or something to accumulate some yards and put points on the board. And, hopefully Horn Lake has that. But it's going to be a tough task going to Starkville and getting the win because I'm sure they've been circling that game for the playoffs since last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as well in the Mississippi State playoffs, you got some powers, right? You got South Panola, you got Olive Branch. South Panola taking on Tupelo. Is this going to be tough for them to, handle in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big first-round game for South Panola playing a tough Tupelo team. And, we played South Panola for years and years. We didn't have them on the schedule this year, but they're always good, always physical. It's always a physical matchup against South Panola because they're always big and physical up front. And then Tupelo is the same way. They usually those Mississippi teams, those upper-end teams, they match power with power.
I want to say from the dudes I played with.
Exactly.
Those Mississippi dudes, man, that power lifting definitely comes into play when they're playing that football, especially this time of year. They got some strength. I'm telling you, that stuff is...
You want to be able to match some size and speed and quickness with the same thing, and I'm sure Tupelo would have the same thing. And like I said, this time of year it's home field advantage. That home crowd it plays dividends. Trust me.
Well, before we let you go, before we go to break, I do want to ask you about the Tigers this weekend in Houston.
Man.
All 3 of our alma maters. You two obviously played.
Yeah.
What do you think the Tigers have this weekend?
Well, this is Gabe can tell you this is an interesting game. It's a trap game. Big win 2 weeks ago. We had a bye.
That bye.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I love that bye.
Yeah, we had that bye. So Coach Norvell, I'm sure the defensive staff got the guys settled down after that big win. And going into Houston is dangerous. Even though they got some guys out, they play well at home. And, Gabe can attest to that. He's been down there. They're Houston. He's had some tough games. Gabe can test some tough games down there in that little small stadium. And this is one of those games where if we don't, go in and take care of business, don't turn the ball over, we could be in trouble because Houston does have some athletes. And hopefully our guys are focused. Coming off that big win, that big weekend with a game day here. Mm-hmm. Hopefully our guys are back focused and ready to end this stretch run on a positive note.
I will never forget that 2015 game, man, where we got up big and let them climb back in.
Yeah, with a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
They
made some good plays down the stretch, and that was a Tom Herman run team. That was a good team.
Then how the heck does Jake miss that field goal? I'm just saying.
He makes everything. He made everything else. But I got to ask you, I mean, when you talk about what you've seen Dana Holgorsen do at Houston, like, what do you think of that? Like, is that just weird?
It's kind of weird, yeah. And it matches his personality because if you know Coach Holgorsen, he's a wild card. You don't know what he's going to do next, especially offensively. He'll come out with so many tricks in the bag, and for him to redshirt his starting quarterback and his best receiver, that was strange to me. But there's a method to his madness, and the team has still been fighting hard and playing well. He's getting this backup quarterback is getting a lot of reps. And so, but it is weird for him to do things like that. But it doesn't surprise me because he's a weird guy.
Yeah, he is a weird guy. But if, say, you had a former player on this Houston team whose eligibility is up, he can't redshirt, he called you asking for advice, should he just stick it out or try to transfer for his last year? I mean, what would you try to tell one of those young men who was kind of stuck in this pickle?
Yeah, if he loves the school, and a lot of times, and Gabe, you could attest to this. Sometimes we don't, coaches and players. Sometimes the relationships just don't jive. But that doesn't mean that you can't do your job as a player or as a coach.
Play for your teammates.
Exactly. So you play for your teammates and the guys in the locker room, and if the locker room is a good place for any young man, I would tell them to stick it out. If it's a bad environment, and it's been things going on down there that the parents and other guys got privy to, and then I would tell him to transfer and go somewhere where he can have a good senior year. And so it just, every circumstance and situation is different, but if he loves his teammates and loves playing for the school, I'd tell him to stick it out.
No. Yeah, it's certainly, I mean, you wonder when he got hired if they had this conversation. But man, for him to do that at the time he did, it was just sort of, it
was weird.
Took me a battle. Like, what is this, man? Was. But Coach Rogers, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys, and go Tigers, go, man. Good luck this weekend with everybody.
Man. But on the other side, we're going to have Andy Schiffman join us at 5 o'clock, and then we'll have the Friday football forecast at 5:30. But we'll bring that on the other side. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
The folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai want to say thank you. Thank you, Memphis, for another spectacular year. They set records, but I can understand why. You think about the product. Where else do you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty? That's what you get on every new car at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Oh, and thank you again for the 11th straight year, the #1 certified pre-owned car dealership in all of Memphis. It starts with that product, but then it goes to the shopper assurance. Where else do you go where you get transparent pricing, flexible test drive, take the car for a couple of days if you want, streamlined buying process? You're not going to be there all day, in and out. And then, and I have not seen this anywhere else, the 3-day worry-free exchange. You buy a new car, if you've got any buyer's remorse, you've got 3 days to change your mind. Just get on Lamar, take it into Mississippi, the first exit's Craft Road, turn left, and go see Chris True and all the gang at Homer Skelton Hyundai. I want to invite you to come by the Spirit Shop. You know, that little log cabin on Poplar, your liquor and wine oasis. The Spirit Shop has been providing sports fans their beverage needs since way back in 1969. So come in now and get ready for the big game. Whether your favorite team wins or loses, the Spirit Shop will help you celebrate or ease that pain away. The Spirit Shop is open every day, and they're located perfectly at 4848 Poplar. That's the corner of Poplar and St. Nick.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
And paid for by Protect My Car. Attention vehicle owners with an auto warranty about to expire or with no coverage at all. No matter the mileage on your vehicle, Protect My Car can provide a unique extended service plan to help you avoid costly repair bills and save you thousands. To celebrate 15 years in business, we further reduced our rates, and we're adding free roadside assistance, free towing, and free car rental at no cost to all new service plans. Call 800-981-7508 for your free quote. Again, that's 800-981-7508.
Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells.
Funny thing about the holidays is, nothing flies by faster.
Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sliding.
Well, actually, the Lexus December to Remember sales event also goes by fast. That's because for a very limited time, you'll find some of our best offers on our most popular models. But don't wait. Offers end January 2nd. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Lexus of Memphis. In case you haven't noticed, there's a renaissance going on in downtown Memphis, and you can enjoy a perfect panoramic view of everything that's happening at 3rd and Court, Memphis's new downtown diner. Settle into a seat at the counter or one of the spacious booths, order a delicious classic diner meal, have a cocktail if you'd like, and watch the exciting changes that are happening every day in downtown Memphis. This time of year, you can always find a reason to go downtown, and another one of those reasons is 3rd and Court, where old school diner meets today's modern palate. It's time for some good food downtown. It's time for 3rd and Court.
Now, more of Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on Sports 56 and 87.7 FM. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Noseworthy.
Great conversation rolling right along on this beautiful
Dude, come
Friday.
on, talk over this. Sing for me, Gabe.
Do you know this song?
I will.
Johnny, you're the singer. You know you're the singer, man. But no, we're rolling along beautifully on this Friday. The sun is setting. The sun is setting. Had a great conversation with Coach Glenn Rogers about what his MUS team is going to get done tonight.
Yeah, and of course we touched on Christian Brothers, and of course you can listen to all Christian Brothers action tonight since they are on the other side of the state. Kickoff is 7 Eastern,
yes,
so
Eastern
we're getting started here right after us on 560 AM. You'll be able to hear the call pregame starting about 5:48. At 5:30 on 96.1 and 87.7, we will be bringing you the Ole Miss basketball pregame coverage. Tip-off is at 6. That is, again, on 96.1 and 87.7. But stick with us all the way through, because I know I'm sure as heck ready to get to the First National Bank and Trust Friday football forecast.
We got some picks
we're itching to get there at 5:30, but I think right now
here at the top of the hour, we're going to have Andy Schiffman join us from Priority Sports, and a big part of what we want to get into is about this James Wiseman situation. Obviously, James Wiseman is going to be ineligible. We're waiting at this moment for a punishment to be handed down by the NCAA. Yeah. And I have been hearing, ad nauseum that it won't exceed 6 games. That's what I've been hearing.
I mean, I hope so, because at this point, due to the fact that I wasn't able to go to South Carolina State or Illinois Chicago, I did go to Lemoyne Owen and Christian Brothers. I still haven't seen the guy play in person.
Oh,
and I'm going to the game tomorrow, luckily, which tips off at 1. I still won't have had the opportunity to see James Wiseman in person.
I'll tell you what, like the thing that really bothers me about the whole thing, and I get there's recruiting violations, by the NCAA, whatever, blah blah blah. But altogether, it's just sort of everything falls under this one umbrella, right? And the NCAA doesn't go after the grown-ups in the situation; they go after the kid, and that's the problem. Ineligible. And that's my issue. Why are we putting him in a position to not be able to play when he will be a moneymaker for you come tournament time, come the rest of the season? I mean, this is a top 25 program that needs that guy on the floor. to help the product.
And when you start talking about who qualifies as a booster, somebody that gave a one-time, I know, $1 million to build the Sports Hall of Fame, obviously named the Penny Hardaway Hall of Fame over on Normal Street by South Hall, but. Like, I was somewhat joking after we let go of Peter,
but seriously,
somewhat not. I mean, literally, if anything can be under that booster, and as a Memphis,
you're a booster. You buy season tickets.
As a Memphis love, as somebody who bought season tickets, that technically makes me a booster. I mean, could it get as crazy as I'm coaching youth basketball in 10 years, and I buy the whole team Gatorades one day. And then one of my players at the age of 12 goes on to play at the University of Memphis. Does that make me a Memphis booster? Does that make that kid ineligible? I know
I think it's
what
ridiculous.
I'm saying is ridiculous, but it with this story, with the Penny Hardaway and James Wiseman connection, it's just as ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous.
What you're saying isn't ridiculous because James Wiseman was 7 years old when he made this donation.
Yes.
I get it was a sizable donation. I get it. But this seems more to me like a TSSAA violation, a high school violation.
And that's why East High School's championships are going to get taken away.
But then it is a NCAA violation. I know that the wording of some of these bylaws sort of lend itself to, yes, this is a violation. But in the end of the day...
Which, by the way, if you've never read the bylaws, please don't. Otherwise, you want to give yourself the biggest headache in the entire world.
Well, because they're vague and everything falls, again, under that one umbrella.
You literally have to be a lawyer to be able to read them. You have to be somebody that gets paid to read legal documents to be able to read them and fully understand them. And that's the thing. That's another thing. The NCAA makes it so hard for every individual, every fan, booster, coach, player, parent of a player to truly understand what the rules are, because they're not just say, hey, you can't do A, B, C, D, E, and so on. It's you can't do A if so-and-so and so-and-so and did this and that. I mean, the legal jargon is just so obnoxious that nobody knows the rules unless you get paid to know the rules.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, and I'm probably not going to be a very popular person for saying this, it is a violation. It is. It truthfully is. In any other situation, I think it's selective. I think they, go after, certain programs more than they'll go after, say, a Duke, a Arizona.
I mean, North Carolina committed the biggest academic fraud in the last 100 years, and nothing ever happened.
End of the day, Sean Miller at Arizona.
I mean, the FBI is getting in on this, and nothing happened.
Sean Miller at Arizona was facilitating $100,000 payments directly to the student athlete who was DeAndre Ayton. So if you're not on the board of selective justice, that's what it is.
Exactly.
Like, if you open your eyes, you see that's what it is. But overall, end of the day, it was, in theory, in print, by their bylaws, a recruiting violation. That may not be a popular opinion.
No,
and
I don't
even really think
opinion. It technically, yes, but should you have violations follow two individuals who, at the time of the violation of the giving James Wiseman's family moving to Memphis, should you punish two individuals who at the time did not know that either one of them would be a player at the University of Memphis or the head coach? Why do you have to punish somebody? Why do you let the punishment continue to go with you to college? That's a high school thing. It should have been dealt with back then by the TSSAA, and it should have been squashed and done. It should not follow you to the next level.
But obviously, we're going to talk to Andy Schiffman about this on the other side. But a Hall of Fame coach in Tubby Smith was employed at the University of Memphis at the time, and that's just the truth of the matter. You can go back, you can argue, okay, he had murmurs of it, but he wasn't.
I mean, ultimately, the only murmurs were on the message boards, which have been calling for Penny Hardaway to be the head coach since he took a job at the middle school level 6 years ago.
Truth of the matter is, he was not the coach, and it wasn't in writing. It wasn't even thought of. We had a Hall of Fame coach here in Memphis in Tubby Smith, but we're going to talk to Andy Schiffman on the other side about all of this and more. You are not going to want to miss this right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
There's a new commissary in town in Collierville. Germantown Commissary is doubling. Yeah, they're still going to have the old Germantown commissary by the tracks, but now there's a huge new Germantown commissary in Collierville at Poplar and Houston Levee Road. It's huge, too. There's a drive-through. There's plenty of parking, no telephone pole to get in your way, a cool patio. It's right by the track, so the tradition continues. And this is a tradition that's been around forever. That commissary is famous for hickory-smoked, slow-cooked Memphis-style barbecue. They've got a private party room at the new one in Collierville. Self-catering still continues. Party packs for $5.95. Basically, the great ribs, the great pulled shoulder, the great deviled eggs. Everything is there in Collierville and Germantown now. So there is now a Germantown and Collierville style of barbecue. It's called Germantown Commissary. I love successes in business. 20 years ago, a guy named Matt Eflin decided when he graduated from the University of Memphis, he was going to get into the insurance business. And man, did he ever get into it. Now, he's got several offices around the area, all to protect you. The main one is in Bartlett, 8099 Stage Hills Boulevard. And the reason Matt is so successful, he's very young, but he's been so successful because he has a unique approach. He tries to have a one-on-one evaluation with each individual to check out their insurance needs. And he specializes in all types of insurance, personal insurance, business insurance. Basically, he sits you down and he asks you whether it's a business or whether it's your home, your family, what's the most important thing you want to protect? And then he figures out your options, collaborates with you, and voila, you're protected. 901-757-2315. That's the Eflin Insurance Group.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. With a family coming home for the holidays, are you going to be running out of hot water? Not with a tankless water heater from Conway Services. It may be time for a tankless water heater that never runs out of hot water. Conway Services is making now the perfect time to replace that old energy-guzzling tanked water heater with 24 months to pay, interest-free. Or I'll give you $250 for that old tanked water heater. These energy-saving models only heat the water you use, saving you money on your gas bill every month. Plus, no more worrying about that tank bursting in your attic either. And you know, with Conway Services, you'll be receiving our award-winning service every time. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier tankless water heater professionals at 384-3511. That's 384-3511. And the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old water heater will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Dirt happens, as well as debris, dust, and damage. And when they happen to you, you need good, clean, fast service. You need Hilo Commercial Services. Hilo specializes in construction, commercial, food plant, and industrial cleaning with customized service just for you. Hilo is also an expert at high dusting to clean hard-to-reach places. When dirt happens, call Hilo Commercial Services, 901-277-6733, or visit HiloCommercial.com. Hilo Commercial Services, good, clean, and fast for you.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
125 seasons of Ole Miss football. Caught by Duke, he may go. Dexter breaks a tackle.
Mike Wallace between two defenders.
The tradition continues.
He's in the end zone. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
Miss! Breaks a tackle. He's gone down the sideline. Touchdown, Ole Miss. He is a beast.
Saturday, Ole Miss welcomes LSU. Pre-game coverage starts at 4 p.m. with kickoff at 6 on your home for the Rebels.
Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
DeSoto Auto Sales. And at DeSoto Auto Sales, they specialize in late model cars with low mileage, high standards in the car industry. All the cars at DeSoto Auto Sales test driven and checked out from head to toe, bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. And at DeSoto Auto Sales, if it's not on the lot, they will find it for you. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales and no high-pressure sales tactics. Laid-back atmosphere, you're treated like family, kind, courteous employees down at DeSoto Auto Sales in DeSoto County. The ultimate car experience. They know time is important, and they will get you in and out, test your car, credit approved in 45 minutes. We're living in a world today that time matters, and they know that. Check out the referrals at DeSotoAutoSales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area. 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Again, DeSotoAutoSales.com. Come on down to DeSoto County to DeSoto Auto Sales on Goodman Road.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, we hit fame. We busy with the deal, we get insane.
Welcome back in. Gabe Kuhn along with Drew Barrett. See, I switched it around this time.
Yeah,
so
see, that way everybody is informed and know that when you hear that voice, that's Gabe Kuhn. When you hear this voice, this is Drew Barrett.
Well,
by the way, this just took me a very small thing. Have you all ever watched The Masked Singer?
No.
Yes, I watched like the first episode or something, and like Antonio Brown was on it, and he lost the first episode.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, I've never watched it, but
I
I
haven't
still
watched
don't get
it
it. Why would anybody want to be a singer in Masked?
Well, they're like
no, it's like you decide who's singing.
They're celebrities.
Aren't you
and
guessing?
You have to guess who the celebrities are.
Do they give you like A, B, C, D?
They give you clues, but the clues are so vague. You're literally like, okay, that could be Beyonce or Macho Man Randy Savage.
Or Elton John.
Or Elton John.
One of the three.
Or Evel Knievel's stepdaughter or something. I mean, like, you're just like, I don't know, man.
Oh, well, we have a loaded final hour. We're actually going to have to be abbreviated because we will have the CBHS Christian Brothers starting here at 5:50. But we have a loaded rest of the day. Andy Schiffman will join us right here in this segment. We are efforting him right now. 5:30, we're going to give you our picks. First National Bank and Trust Friday football forecast. We have a lot that we have to get to. And then crunch time, of course, at 5:40 for the last segment of the day.
Well, I was trying to get on Andy Schiffman. Let's go ahead and kind of talk a little NBA because that's what we're obviously going to talk with him about. Outside of the Grizz, I think they've been a surprising story. I think John, Jaren, and Brandon Clark has been surprising. But how about let's actually stay in the same division? What about New Orleans, man? I know Zion is out right now, but 2-8. Did you see 2-8?
Yeah.
Without Zion,
you got to understand.
With Zion, they were talking about that they're going to be a playoff contender. I mean, one guy, one rookie.
Look, okay, 2-8. I will.
Isn't going to turn you from 2-8 to 8-2.
I will agree. Looking at it, you did not expect a 2-8 start, but that is a young team. You're talking about Brandon Ingram being their main scorer right now. Zion obviously hurt.
You got JJ,
Lonzo Ball, JJ Redick. I mean, while he is a good player, good shooter. He is not a guy that's going to carry you over. But the biggest surprise, and I think you would attest to this as well, the Trailblazers, man.
Yeah.
And they went and got Melo. That's a 4-8 team. And you have guys, that team was in the Western Conference Finals. That team was in the Western Conference Finals. But we have Andy Schiffman joining us right now. He is the Executive Vice President of basketball representation at Priority Sports and Entertainment. How are you, Andy?
Good, guys. How are you? Appreciate you having me on again.
Thanks for joining us. Real quick, before we get into everything else that's going on in the NBA right now, I want to ask you a question that I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about. because as a country and as sports fans, it seems like our attention span only lasts about 2 seconds. And after those 2 seconds are done, we completely forget about it. What's going on with the NBA in China? I mean, we haven't really heard any updates about it.
Yeah, no updates and no news is good news with regard to that topic. So, obviously, as you're both aware, and you pointed out, it was an extremely hot-button issue a few weeks ago when everything kind of came to an head. And just like a lot of things in this business, some news story will take over social media and become the next hot topic. So in terms of the NBA's relationship with China, I'm not really at liberty or in that position to offer much of an opinion. In terms of the players I represent that we work with here at Priority, we've definitely addressed the issue with each of our players. They know how to handle it and just try to stay out of the spotlight when it comes to that issue, because as you can see, some of the players and personnel around the league that have spoken out, especially on social media, they just are adding fuel to the fire, and we do not want that for our players. We've just instructed our players, you know what, go out there and do your job and play basketball and worry about that, control what you can control. So I think it's great if things continue to quiet down, and then from a political standpoint, if the trade war can finally be over with and everything can, maybe not go back to normal, but just settle down a little bit, I think the relationship between the NBA and China can be mended more and more over time, because obviously there are a number of NBA fans in China. It is an absolute huge market for the NBA, and it's valuable for the NBA to have that market. And now, at the risk of compromising one's values and morals and beliefs, not for me to say. So that's a very generic political answer, but that's all I'll offer on the topic.
Yeah, I mean, it seems sort of like the thought process of, let's not keep bringing it to the forefront of everything and just sort of let it calm down. Everybody gather your thoughts. But with this, when this came up, as far as you representing, NBA players goes, did you have to do some coaching as far as if these questions came up, what the answer might be?
Absolutely, and we had some players. The Brooklyn Nets and the Lakers, as you know, were over there playing games in China as this all was going on. And we've got 2 players in the Lakers, not LeBron James or Anthony Davis, and 2 players on the Nets. And it was a topic of discussion for those 4 players while they were over in China, and definitely here domestically, whether there are players in the NBA, players in the G League, and also I've got about 5 or 6 players playing in China who have previously played in the NBA. Fellow Memphians like Jarnell Stokes, Lester Hudson. We've got Justin Hamilton, Lance Stevenson over there. And so from talking, it was funny. We have one of our players plays in China. During that time, the NBA preseason was going on. One of the players' teams was going on a tour in the United States, playing a couple NBA teams in preseason. And as this all was culminating, I was talking to him one night, and he said, yeah, our coach talked to us about it. Everything is very tense here, and you can tell when you step into the NBA arena, it's like you've got targets on your back, and I feel a little out of place because I'm from the U.S., but I'm playing in China, and I'm playing for this team, but here I am back in the U.S. when all this is going on, but I'm with everyone here from China. So you definitely have to coach your clients on how to handle the situation, because in this day and age, as you see every single day, these 20-something-year-old professional athletes love to post on social media and post
very much so,
and offer their opinions on things that maybe they should or shouldn't be offering their opinion on. And so in this circumstance, you definitely want to instruct your players, even though you might want to do A or B, it's not going to be in the best interest of your career right now. So there's no need to post anything. And with regards to interviews coming up from media personnel after games, here's how you should address it. And just to the point I made earlier, that's exactly what we told our players.
Absolutely.
Andy, I know it's kind of it's a different sport, but it's all that the world of sports is talking about. Last night with the Myles Garrett incident on Mason Rudolph, if you were representing Myles Garrett, what would your course of action be today as far as trying to helping him save face?
I'd love to give you an educated answer there, but actually last night I was on a very long flight back from France, so I was honestly quite tuned out of anything other than just keeping up with scores around the NBA. I mean, I know there was a fight between the Cleveland and Pittsburgh game between those two. If you want to analogize it to something in the NBA, give me some more specifics.
basically the equivalent of the
Malice at the Palace.
Malice at the Palace. That's what I was trying to say. Kind of like that. How would you help somebody save face like that after the day after something like that happened?
Well, sure. I mean, I think with regards to any sort of physical altercation in professional sports, you always want to, A, say as little as possible, B, and just admit you made a mistake, own up to it. I think sometimes fingers can tend to be pointed, and there are accusatory statements and blame placed in those circumstances because they're very emotional circumstances. But if I'm advising a player who got into some sort of physical altercation with another player or with fans, whatever the case may be, there's no place for it in professional sports whatsoever, and you just got to own up to it and say, you know what, it was a lack of judgment. I made a mistake. It's something I should have absolutely not done. I sincerely apologize to the fans, to the sport, to the league, to my teammates, to my friends and family, to my coaching staff. And you know what? Leave it at that and move on and continue to do your job. Do not get defensive. Do not pop up in the media and social media trying to defend yourself or place blame. A lot of people want to do that because it continues to circulate attention around the issue, thereby giving the players more attention. But in reality, something like that can drag on and really hurt a player's perception and career. And while it wasn't a physical altercation, you look at how much was said in the media about the Antonio Brown situation, kind of how that's tarnished his image, and prior to the beginning of the NFL season. And so, again, it goes back to what I said earlier. I think no news is good news. Very little news is good news. Just when there's negative situations going on in sports, stay out of the media.
Regardless if you were flying back from France last night, I'm sure you have caught wind of this James Wiseman situation. This has taken over our airwaves this past week, and the NCAA they came out. They said Penny paid James Wiseman $11,500. The university basically backed Penny and James to get into this case, which has since been sort of a non-case. What have you made of this whole situation with the NCAA and the course of action they're probably going to take with this University of Memphis basketball team?
Right. Well, I definitely applaud the stance the University of Memphis, the president, and the whole staff are taking, and they're really supporting Penny and the team and James, which is very admirable. And someone is standing up to the NCAA. And look, the NCAA, they're a very strict institution that continues, in my opinion, to implement somewhat arbitrary rules. And actually, a couple of weeks ago when I was on the show, initially I talked about their role in handling agent regulations and their place in mandating agent registration to represent players going to the NBA and while they're in college. And I would just say, from the NCAA standpoint, show me where this is harmful. I understand it might violate the principles of amateurism as it's defined, but again, everything that I've seen, and I'm looking at it from the same vantage point as you guys are, actually you're closer to the situation being there in Memphis, it doesn't seem like really any rules were broken given the timing of the situation that Penny was not the head coach at University of Memphis at the time. I understand if he was, that's a completely different scenario, and you've had situations go on like that ever since the initial NCAA FBI investigation started up a couple of years ago, but this does not fall into that category. So it's not for me to say what I think will come of this. Will he be ineligible for the rest of the season? Will he be suspended for a number of games, maybe 5 to 10? I think the NCAA will arbitrarily decide his fate, which it stinks. It stinks for Tiger fans. It stinks for Penny and his staff, and for the just overall excitement and atmosphere that James had going into his more than likely only season of being a college basketball player in a basketball frenzied town, and that's all ripped away from him due to no fault of his own. And now he's at the mercy of the NCAA, who really probably are unable to empathize with a young man in James' position when it all comes down to it. And I think that's pretty unfair. We'll see what unfolds here.
Yeah, and going back to if a rule was actually broken, the NCAA. I at this point, it's just like it doesn't matter because these rules are so arbitrary and ambiguous that it seems like everything falls under this one umbrella, and it always is at the expense of the player.
Yeah, always at the expense of the player. And then there's the flip side, though. There are instances where players might take money or break the rules, this and that, and the coach may realistically have no knowledge of it, but then those violations might follow the coach. And there's other instances where it's just the opposite, where we've seen with previous Memphis Tiger, I'll say coach, not coaches, who the university gets punished and the team gets punished and the program gets punished, but then the coach goes on to a different job and these violations don't follow him. And so, again, to your point, in my opinion, the whole enforcement process is very arbitrarily applied, and I do not know if that will ever change just because of the monopoly that the NCAA has on college athletics.
And Andy, obviously, as an NBA agent, you have to be caught up on the NCAA rules, and I know you definitely have probably read the rules, especially when it comes to agents and NCAA student athletes. And for the little bit that I've read, I mean, it gives me the biggest headache. Do you think the NCAA and a lot of leagues should simplify their rule book, kind of make it in more layman's terms? That way everybody can get a grasp of it and everybody knows what they can and can't do, because with the legal jargon that they have in these rule books, not just the NCAA, but every league, you either have to be a sports agent or a lawyer to understand them.
Absolutely. I think that would be something that would benefit every league, and not only the leagues, but agents, coaches, parents, student athletes alike. As an agent and also as an attorney, I have to familiarize myself with the local legal regulations that surround being an agent, an athlete agent in various states. I have to familiarize myself with the Uniform Athlete Agent Act, which was supposed to be applied uniformly across all 50 states, but it has not been adopted by all 50 states. I have to be familiar with the NCAA's regulation. I have to be familiar with the individual schools' regulations, which could vary from time to time with state regulations. And on top of that, the professional players' unions, which are the professional entity that regulates agents, I have to be familiar with those regulations. So there definitely is a lot of legal jargon and paperwork to be familiar with and to fill out and to sift through. And I would say, having been in this for a while now, the simplest way you can make it is, you know what, here are the rules, don't break them. And if you do, here are the repercussions. And from what I've seen historically, there have been a lack of repercussions and there's been a lack of enforcement for those agents that break the rules or violate the regulations that might be enforced or implemented rather by players' associations or by schools or states. And a lot of times it's very hard to prove those violations even took place. So it's definitely not black and white. And now the NCAA is stepping in to try and, I would say, streamline regulations. I do not think that will be successful. And again, it goes back to the same analogy I mentioned with putting themselves in Wiseman's shoes. These personnel at the NCAA, they do not play in our sandbox. They do not coach college athletics. They do not represent professional athletes. They do not interact on a level that agents do. They are removed from that stance and from that viewpoint. And so I think, it is arbitrary and unfair for them to try and have a hand in different things that they just are very unfamiliar with. I think getting student athletes cleared for classes and to play college athletics and to monitor as a whole, very generally, all of college sports and to hand down different punishments for those universities or student athletes that do break the rules and coaches alike, that is absolutely in their purview. But to start going outside of that and now trying to regulate agents, and there are already a number of bodies, like I just mentioned, regulating agents.
Yes.
I think that is a bit out of line, and I do not see that ever falling under the auspices of the NCAA.
Yeah, that's a problem with the NCAA, but there is a perceived problem now in the NBA with this load management mumbo-jumbo. I don't really fall into the ranks of sort of thinking that this will be a long-term negative effect, but how do you feel as far as these players being able to take nights off for their bodies to extend their careers? Do you think it will have any type of long-lasting effects on the NBA as a whole?
Long-lasting effects, I do not. Sure, if you're a paying fan and you want to go,
and that's where I'm at with it.
Exactly. Like it's happened years ago with San Antonio. That's when it all first kind of came up when they rested some of their stars. Again, it's very tricky, right? As a coach, you're in a tough spot because you want to get the most out of your team. If you're playing a team that might be lower level, bottom rung of the league, and you're fighting for the playoffs, as a coach, it could make sense to rest your stars, especially if they're a bit older and they've got a lot of tread on their tires and they're going through injuries and their bodies are beat up and you want to preserve them for the playoffs. But as the NBA, from the business standpoint, they're not looking at it from that perspective. As a fan, you're not looking at it from that perspective. You want to be able to go and see the stars play on a game that you paid X amount of dollars for to go watch. And you're going to be upset. You're going to feel like you probably got cheated if the coach made a decision to bench that player, knowing that it's not because he's not good enough, it's just because you want to preserve his body. But my opinion, again, that could come up here and there. I do not think it will have long-lasting effects. Do I have an opinion on whether it's the right move or not? It's not for me to say. I see both sides of it. I just don't think it's going to drag on to something that will be long-term detrimental to the league.
Yeah, and I certainly agree with that. I think there's been a public outrage of sort of the first big year of this being an implementation into sort of what is going to be normal from now on. I think there will be steps to sort of, make this more normal and help the fans understand when these guys will be sitting, when they will be, starting.
Sure.
But Brett tells me, and this was awesome to hear that you at Priority represent Brandon Clark, and he has been an absolute pleasure to watch here in Memphis. Have you gotten to watch a bunch of his games so far, and how pleased have you been with him so far?
Well, I've watched them all, and he's the good thing for me is he's backing up everything that I was telling teams throughout the pre-draft process. Watching him at Gonzaga, again, like a lot of basketball fans will watch a player like Brandon and look at his numbers in college basketball and say, well, he's not really wowing anybody. He seems like just a guy to just kind of be bouncing around and just making highlight-level dunks. But then, again, we had the privilege of working with him here in Chicago leading up to the draft with our other 2019 draft class, and so we were able to see firsthand his things you're seeing now, right? His just nose for the ball, his feel for the game is phenomenal. His ability to stretch the floor and shoot threes and how confident he is with that stroke. He just did not need to do that at Gonzaga. They did not put him in a position to float around the perimeter and shoot threes. They had other players who could do that for them. And now he's actually stepping into his role. It's just the classic tale of, well, this guy's going to be a better pro than he is a college player. And he was a pretty darn good college player. So now you're really, and so I told Zach Kleiman this when they drafted him. I love the fit Brandon brings to this team, as athletic and as young as they are. Now you pair him up with JJ and you pair him up with Ja, and now you've got this whole identity of being a fast-paced, running and gunning athletic team, and Brandon fits that, and he's such a hard worker. The scary thing is, we are, 11, 12 games into the NBA season. He's nowhere near where he'll be come March, come April, and especially this time next year, and he's only going to keep getting better. He absolutely loves Memphis. All the feedback I've gotten is they're very happy with him. So it's exciting to watch, and I think just because he's a hard worker, he's a great young man, but he fits the identity that Memphis is trying to move forward with as a team.
Yeah, and I certainly think he fits an identity because just of how hard he plays and the development he still has yet to do. He had 1 year with Mark Few at Gonzaga. I just feel like he has so much more that he can add to his game, and we've definitely seen that through the early going. But obviously we're talking to Andy Schiffman on Twitter at PriorityBKBall. He's the executive vice president of basketball representation at Priority Sports. Andy, a pleasure. I really appreciated this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to talking next week as well.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, Andy. That, like Gabe said, that was Andy Schiffman. Remember, when we come back, we will only be on 560 AM as we are going to Ole Miss pregame on 87.7 and 96.1.
So switch over now because
so
the Friday football forecast is coming up.
Friday football forecast with me, Gabe, and John. We're also going to get his input. You don't want to miss his picks because I know he's been fire on Johnny Radio's happy hour. So switch over to 560 if you're not already there, and don't go anywhere this is Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
The Peter Edmiston Experience with C.J. Hurt. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
The folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai want to say thank you. Thank you, Memphis, for another spectacular year. They set records, but I can understand why. you think about the product. Where else do you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty? That's what you get on every new car at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Oh, and thank you again for the 11th straight year, the #1 certified pre-owned car dealership in all of Memphis. It starts with that product, but then it goes to the shopper assurance. Where else do you go where you get transparent pricing, flexible test drive, take the car for a couple of days if you want, streamlined buying process? You're not going to be there all day, in and out. And then, and I have not seen this anywhere else, the 3-day worry-free exchange. You buy a new car, if you've got any buyer's remorse, you've got 3 days to change your mind. Just get on Lamar, take it into Mississippi, the first exit's Craft Road, turn left, and go see Chris True and all the gang at Homer Skelton Hyundai.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. If you need a roof for your home or business, we hope to hear from you and we will work hard to earn your business. We are experts and certified in residential and commercial roofing, siding, and gutter installation. We have been serving the Memphis area for over 20 years, and now with 2 of my sons working with me, we plan to be here for many years to come. So if you need a roof, please give us a call. On a personal note, what a great time to be a Memphis sports fan. With the Grizzlies' new look, the Redbirds, the 901 FC, and the Tigers football and basketball teams, it's going to be a fun year. Thank you to Coach Norvell, Coach Hardaway, and their staffs for your dedication to your student athletes, the University of Memphis, and to fans like me who have waited forever to have both the football and basketball teams ranked at the same time. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
It's the holidays, people, and our guys at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch told me to say a big thank you to everyone driving All-Star Chevys, and to each of you wanting to buy a new Chevy to come to All-Star Chevy today. Test drive the Silverado, Traverse, the new Camaro. It's ABC simple. A, the All-Star Chevy Challenge to bring any written offer from any Mid-South Chevy dealer to All-Star so they can give you a better deal or buy you a tank of gas. B, better buying experience that's fast and fun for you. And C, customer care to take care of everything you need so all your future cars and trucks to be in the All-Star family. Because over 75% of All-Star customers are repeat buyers, and no other Mid-South Chevy dealer can say that. So find new roads to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch. Not South Haven, not the Pike, not Collierville. It's got to be Olive Branch. So go to allstarautogroup.com and find the Chevy you want. If you don't see it there, they can get it for you fast. allstarautogroup.com.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. Do not forget to buy lentils, or the lentil soup you're making for dinner will be sorely lacking. By the way, Mrs. Calloway says thanks for helping her bundle home and auto. She appreciates the extra savings, even though you kept using the word apropos incorrectly. But the main thing is do not forget to buy, what was it? Something apropos the lentil soup. Sorry, I'll call you back.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129.
Time for the Friday football forecast from First National Bank and Trust, a division of First National Bank of Eastern Arkansas. For real estate, commercial, ag, hunting, and recreational, contact them at fnbt.com or 901-498-5763.
Friday football forecast from First National Bank and Trust, a division of First National Bank of Eastern Arkansas. Real estate isn't something you purchase or develop or desire. It's something you appreciate, respect, and know. With real estate, there's no gray area. You either know it or you don't. First National Bank and Trust, a division of First National Bank of Eastern Arkansas, they've known it since their beginning in 1886. Clients depend on First National Bank because they know real estate. Brooks Winchester, Nick Sutton, and many more can assist you in your acquisition of that hunting land, farmland, a construction project. Let First National Bank and Trust make your dreams a reality. 775 Ridge Lake Boulevard, Suite 140 in Memphis, 901-498-5763 or fnbtmemphis.com. That's fnbtmemphis.com. For commercial real estate, residential construction, or recreational and agriculture financing, let First National Bank and Trust help you, a division of First National Bank of Eastern Arkansas, where I've had an account and been a friend my entire life.
And welcome back to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats here on 560 AM. Drew Barrett, Gabe Kuhn filling in for Dave and Brett. As Brett did just say there in the rejoin that it is the First National Bank and Trust Friday football forecast. Let's go ahead and get into it. First game of the week that we're going to be picking 11 o'clock kickoff tomorrow at Mississippi State. Alabama minus 17.5. Alabama has played more games versus State than any other opponent. 72 straight weeks in the top 10 for Alabama. Alabama has Alabama has forfeited a turnover 63 of its last 68 games. 100 rushing yards games for State's Kylan Hill. Coming into the game, like I said, Bama is minus 17.5. Brett, he's taking Bama to cover 48-14. Dave also has Bama winning. I'm going to take Bama to cover. I know 2 was a game time decision, but I think even with Matt Jones in the backfield, they still win easy. Joe Moorhead has not gotten the Bulldogs right all season long, and Bama rolls big. I think they win by about 28. Gabe, what do you got?
Unfortunately, I'm going to go Bama as well here. I like it. The only reason I do is because I think Tua will play. I think Tua will play because when you look at Bama and what they have to do to keep themselves alive in the college football playoff, they have to make this look convincing. They have to convince the committee that they still have a chance at this thing. So I'm operating on that assumption. I think they'll win big.
John?
All I know is I can't stop thinking about, do you think that's the first time Drew ever said Moorhead on this side of the airwaves?
Come on, man. Make a pick.
Didn't make a pick.
All
Okay,
right,
well, moving on.
Johnny's taking
Hold
State.
on. What was I supposed to pick?
Yes, take a
What's
pick.
up?
What was the game?
Alabama minus 17.5.
Please, Bama ain't going to cover.
You're taking all right.
Give me them Bulldogs.
All right,
Only
Johnny,
one with the
only one.
Bulldogs.
So we don't have a show sweep. Johnny's going to take the Mississippi State Bulldogs onto the 2:30 game on ESPN2. Memphis minus 10.5 at Houston. This is the 28th all-time meeting. 3 straight wins for the Tigers over Houston. 53 wins since the start of 2014. That makes the Tigers 9th most wins in FBS in that time. Tigers, like I said, are minus 10.5. Bruce likes them. I'm a little concerned because historically, when you have a game against Houston, especially there, I know it's in the month of November. Mike Norvell is 11-1 in the month of November.
Houston.
But guess what? When the Tigers play against Houston in the month of November, they've only won 1 time in the last 25 years. So I know that's kind of a weird trend to go off, but Bruce helped control my anxiety for this one. I'm also going to take the Tigers minus 10.5. Brett's going to take Houston to win, but Memphis to cover. And just like he always says, you just have to win by 1. He's got the Tigers winning 21-20. Dave's got the Tigers straight up.
I have Memphis, and I think the only reason I think this, I think the Houston sitting down their guy Mo Bakar, who has gotten about 350 yards in the past 2 weeks in the rushing game. He won't be playing. Patrick Carr, their backup running back, he has had knee injuries, and this is going to be his first week back. So I don't think offensively that they can stick in there with the Tigers.
Mm-hmm. John?
King is dead, so go Memphis.
All right. Got not a show sweep. Brett, the only one taking Houston to cover. On to another 2:30 game. I believe this one is on CBS. Georgia minus 2.5 at Auburn, also known as the South's oldest rivalry. Georgia has won 14 of the last 18 matchups. Georgia leads the SEC in scoring defense and is second nationally. Georgia and Auburn are 2 of 6 FBS teams that have not surrendered more than 24 points in a game. The others are Clemson, Iowa, Ohio State, and San Diego State. This one's going to be close. It's always close between these two teams. Think back to all the great moments from the miracle of Jordan Hare in this matchup, the South's oldest rivalry. I'm going to take Georgia to barely edge it out. I think they win by a field goal. Give me Georgia 21-17. Well, so they'll get it by 4.
I have talked myself back and forth out of this one a million times. I had Auburn at first, but I'm taking Georgia. And the only reason I think is because I think it'll look similar to Georgia's game against Florida, right? And I think they'll win by a touchdown or more. I'm not saying it'll be a high-scoring game. I think these are 2 good defenses, but I'm giving Georgia the advantage offensively. Bo Nix is very mistake-prone, and I think that Georgia team will roll. Jake Fromm at least has some experience in big games like this.
Georgia, sweet Georgia. Oh, yeah,
All right.
easy, baby.
There we go.
John's taking the train down to Georgia, and he's going with the Bulldogs. Brett also is going to take Georgia. He thinks they win 27-20, and Dave is going to take the Bulldogs as well. So we have a show sweep on that one. To the 6 o'clock matchup down in Oxford, LSU minus 21.5. Remember when we talked to Bruce Marshall, he says that he likes Ole Miss to cover. Now, LSU leads the nation in total offense. Joe Burrows has 33 TDs passing this so far this year. Ole Miss quarterback John Rice Plumlee with 777 yards rushing. That's third in the country by quarterbacks. Bruce thinks they cover. I want to pull the trigger. I want to say Ole Miss will cover, but after what I saw from LSU last week, Joe Burrows, Ed Orgeron, they had everything clicking, beat Alabama. I'm gonna take LSU. I think I don't know, man. This game is so hard. Bruce has got in my head.
Billy Cannon could return punts this year and still beat Ole Miss. Take LSU.
Look, Burrow is rolling. I have nothing to say after that. I have nothing else to say. Burrow is going to roll in this game, and I'm not so sure it'll be close.
You know what? I'll go with Bruce. When in doubt, go. When in doubt, go with Bruce.
Oh, a last second switch. What are we doing?
Go with Bruce. I'm going to take the Rebs to cover, LSU to win. Brett, he's got LSU winning the game. Dave has got Ole Miss covering and LSU winning. So me and Dave are the only two people taking the Ole Miss Rebels. Now, on to our college football lock of the year. This is when kind of been my downfall over my life.
Lock of the year.
Lock of the week. Sorry. Lock of the week of the year of the century. Which, side note, love bottom 10 on ESPN.
Yeah.
I read it every week. Just Ryan McGee is just so hilarious in his bottom 10. So in my college football lock of the week of the year of the century, I'm going to take Arizona State minus 2.5 at Oregon State. Arizona State bit me in the butt last week. They can't do it to me again.
Okay.
2.5 points. Okay. That's way too small against
Giving Herm the love.
Yes, a very very decent to good Arizona State team against a bad Oregon State Beavers team. 2.5 is way too little. Give me the Sun Devils.
Virginia Tech, an old coach of mine, Coach Fuente, Justin Fuente, is coming off a big win against Wake Forest. They were nationally ranked last week. They had them at home, and they beat them 36-17. It was an absolute beatdown. The week before, they played a really close game with 16th ranked nationally Notre Dame. It was 21-20. They got a last-second, Notre Dame that is. They got a last-second touchdown to win that game. I like Virginia Tech -6 over Georgia Tech, and I don't even think it'll be a sweater.
All right, John. Do you have
Michigan State had his best offensive showing all year long, and yet they still lost last week. And guess what? Jim Harbaugh might wear khakis and look like a complete goober, but guess what?
They're rolling.
Michigan minus 13.5, cover all day long, all day strong. They win by 31.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give you a lead course, so not so fast, my friend, because we are going to our CFP shock, and that's going to be my shock. I'm taking Michigan State plus the 13.5 at Michigan.
Okay.
The khakis, the glasses, the blue hat that Jim Harbaugh wears every week ain't got a shot. I don't know who wins this, but it's definitely not a 13.5 game. For Brett, for his lock, though, he's going to take Kentucky minus 10.5 over Vandy. And Dave's got the same game as you, Virginia Tech minus 6.5
Dave's a
over
smart man.
Georgia Tech. Who's your shock?
My shock, and this is easy, Kansas plus 17 at Oklahoma State. Kansas has been scoring points like crazy. It's going out of style. Oklahoma State's defense is trash, man, and I don't think they're as good as they've been cracked up to be. Mike Gundy obviously has done well in his tenure there, but I like Kansas plus 17.
My shock is very, very simple. They might be favored -3, but they're 20th in the country, playing the 8th team in the country in Minnesota. Doesn't matter if Vegas does it. In the 8th-ranked team in the country, playing for the Big Ten championship, they're going to lose heads up to Iowa.
All right, John,
that's a shock
John
for sure.
Is taking Iowa over Minnesota. On to the NFLs. We do have to go kind of quick here, as we do, like we said, we do have a shortened show today due to Christian Brothers high school football playing in the Eastern time zone. Baltimore minus 4.5 at home against Houston. Both Brett and Dave have Houston winning straight up. I'm going the other way.
Of course
I'm
you are.
going with my Ravens. We win 6 in a row. We cover. I'm going to take Baltimore 28-20.
Not only am I taking Houston against the spread, but I'm taking them straight up. Texans are rolling. Deshaun Watson's going to insert himself back into that MVP race this week.
Oh, y'all crazy.
All right, now I missed it. So am I giving my NFL lock?
No. Baltimore at Houston, minus 4.5.
No, Baltimore at home. I wrote it down on the
Oh,
sheet.
let me tell you something. Lamar Jackson's going to tap dance on everybody's face, and he's going to show everybody in the world why it is that he's going to be the first of the great quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and Lamar Jackson, to make it to a Super Bowl.
Johnny, I love the way you think. Don't ever change. Stay exactly in that mindset right there because he's got it exact right. That's what's going to happen with the Ravens. Other NFL game that we're picking, New England minus 3.5 at Philly. Brett, he's got Philly squeaking it out, 34-31. Wow. Dave, he's got New England. I'm going to take New England as well. They've only lost one game thus far to my Ravens. So I'm going to take New England. They win by a good touchdown, maybe 10 points.
I'm New England. I don't think Philadelphia's defense is good enough to stick in there, and we know New England's defense is going to hold Carson Wentz down. I just
Plus,
know
we also
it's
know
going
Nick
to happen.
Foles plays in Jacksonville, so therefore there's no chance that Wentz goes down and they get saved by Nick Foles.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what his
Patriots.
pick is.
All right, let's go. We got to move fast. I'm going to go ahead and give my NFL lock and shock. I'm going to take New Orleans minus 5.5 at Tampa as my lock. I'm guessing Gabe has the exact same one for my shock. I'm taking Detroit plus 7.5 at home against the Cowboys. Who is your shock?
My shock is unfortunately Jets plus 2.5 at Redskins. Not really too big of a shock.
Somebody's got to win.
These are lowly teams, and I think the Jets will squeak one out.
Yeah, John, real quick, do you have
my
a shock?
lock is the Saints bouncing back against Tampa Bay, laying 5.5. My shock though is going to be, believe it or not, Falcons getting 4.5 against Carolina. They're going to cover again, and they actually might get 2
That was a
wins
good
in
week
row.
last night.
Last
week they had a good week.
John, forget what I told you to play. Go ahead and it's time to get to Taco Bell crunch time.
No, let me hold on 1 second because we need to talk about certain situations. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Well,
that just said we're beautiful.
Okay. There we go.
This is Geraldo. It is crunch time. You are looking live. It's crunch time. In your life, have you seen anything like that?
Golly, I don't remember that one.
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please. He's a professional. He's pretty classy for his age.
In the crunch time, that's the frustrating part.
Little Penny could make some appearances this year.
Okay, I'm not huge into stats.
Has it always been this way?
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working?
Immediately when the buzzer sounds, he lets out this shriek.
He throw those ears forward. He was in stroke mode.
It's obviously crunch time.
Boop, boop, boop. That's what you're getting.
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
Gabe, I learned today here on Taco Bell Crunch Time that Paul George made his return last night in a losing efforts to the Pelicans as they picked up their third win. But Paul George looked to be back to his old self, 33 points, 10 of 17 from the field, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, and had 9 rebounds. What'd you learn today?
I learned that South Carolina football coach Will Muschamp is here to stay. AD Ray Tanner. He said, today I want to make it clear that Will Muschamp is our football coach moving forward, and he will continue to be.
I could have done without, I think what everybody could have done without obviously the Myles Garrett
exact same
situation. The brawl that should have never been is the final seconds of the game. Just lay it down, buddy. I know you like to play for the whistles. I know the NFL loves to go after 60 minutes. It's 60 minutes. You got to give it all for 60 minutes. But, man, you're up 21-7. Don't lose your head, especially in a situation like that. And don't try to kill somebody, which is exactly what he did.
I'm right there with you, and I thought it was absolutely sick. What I am looking forward to and keeping a close eye on is Colin Kaepernick. Will he get signed after this Hugh Jackson run, drill situation? 11 teams have looked at him. The Cardinals, the Falcons, Browns, Broncos, Lions. Dolphins, Patriots, Giants, Jets, Bucks, and Redskins. I wonder where he will go.
I wonder where he will, indeed. I'm going to keep a close eye on tonight. The Grizzlies versus the Jazz at home. Tigers versus Alcorn State tomorrow. And, of course, Tigers at Houston tomorrow at 2:30 on ESPN. All the NFL action from the weekend. And you know me, I'm a hockey guy, so I've got to keep an eye on the Preds hosting the Blackhawks tomorrow night in Smashville on the ice. Let's go, Preds. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. I do want to thank all of our great guests today. Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet, John David Bajor from the Memphis Touchdown Club, Peter Edmiston from, obviously, Peter Edmiston Experience with CJ Hart and The Athletic, Glenn Rogers on high school football, and Andy Schiffman, the NBA agent, breaking down everything for us. Thank you, Gabe.
It's been a good time.
Been a great job. Thank you, John, for sticking around past your time to keep this show afloat. For John, for Gabe, I'm Drew. Remember, Memphis, always show love, never hate, feel the good vibes, and have a wonderful and blessed night.
For over 25 years, Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 has been bringing you great local sports talk. With 13 hours of local talk daily, we continue to be Memphis's local sports leader. The day starts with Keith Parker and Elliot Wender on the Press Box from 6 to 7, followed by the Peter Edmiston Experience with CJ Hurt from 7 to 10. Sports 56 middays with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy takes you through lunch from 10 until 1. And then, John Harden brings you Johnny Radio's Happy Hour from 1 to 3. Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy drive you home every afternoon with Sports Time with Wolo and Stats from 3 till 6. And John Rennie wraps up the day with Southern Sports Report from 6 to 7 before we turn things over to Fox Sports Radio to get you through the evening. We also bring you Ole Miss sports, NFL football, and the NCAA basketball tournament. Don't miss anything. Keep your radio locked in right here on Real Sports Talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in